Chapter 1. On a clear afternoon, I dragged my luggage and stood at the exit of the airport. The wind was blowing messily, and my heart was beating wildly. Sigh. I let out a long sigh. The more I didn't want to, the more I came back. I came back to a city that was about to face a storm. I didn't know how long I had been waiting, but I had already fallen asleep sitting on my luggage. A sudden breaking sound disturbed my sleep. A person got out of the car and slowly walked towards me. "Miss, I'm sorry, but Master and Madam are waiting for you at Zhueyun restaurant." I didn't say anything and got into the car. What I was about to face at Zhueyun restaurant would completely change my life. I was a cold glaze. My father was the president of the Red Ming Hui, which monopolized half of a city's economy. It could be said that from the day I was born, I was destined to not be an ordinary person. I couldn't live like an ordinary girl, I couldn't have friends, I couldn't enter a school, and I was taught to be heartless. My father said that I was to inherit his achievements and be the successor of the Red Ming Hui. In 20 years, I transformed from a childish child to the head of the North American Red Ming Hui branch. My father was very satisfied with my achievements. While I was meticulously managing the branch's business, I was summoned back by my father's urgent call. He didn't say anything, but told me to come back and meet a few people on the other side. The other side that my father was talking about was the Kurosawa, which supported the other half of a city. Although the Kurosawa and our Red Ming Hui seemed to be harmonious on the surface, the struggle behind the scenes had lasted for several years. The Kurosawa had once stolen the entire entertainment industry from the Red Ming Hui, and our Red Ming Hui had also monopolized the food and beverage industry in a city. He didn't know what this sudden meeting meant in this seemingly united stalemate. With all these questions, I settled the branch's affairs and hurried back. I felt that the silence was too frightening. What came next was a storm that would catch everyone off guard. "Miss, we're here." The driver opened the car door, interrupting my thoughts. I got out of the car and walked into the lobby. As soon as he walked through the door, he saw the second master, Uncle Bai. "Ha ha ha, Shaoli, you've grown so big. You're finally back. Hurry up and go upstairs. Everyone's waiting for you." Uncle Bai smiled and walked towards me. "Uncle Bai, long time no see. Good child, let's go up." Uncle White pulled me to the second floor. "Uncle Bai, do you know why Dad called me back?" Unable to hold back my curiosity, I asked. "You'll understand in a moment. Remember, no matter what happens, you can't say anything. Let your father handle everything. If you open your mouth, you'll harm the entire Red Ming Hui." Uncle Bai's smiling face suddenly became serious. I kept quiet. Uncle Bai's words made my heart tremble. What they were about to face was perhaps an unimaginable disaster. When we reached the door, Uncle Bai helped me straighten my clothes. He patted my head and said gently, "Shaoli, your father is doing this for you. Go in." I let out a long breath, knocked on the door, and pushed it open. Standing at the door, I noticed that there were only 4 people sitting at the table. My father, mother, and the other 2 were a man and a woman who were about the same age as my parents. The 4 of them didn't talk to each other, and the quiet atmosphere made me feel awkward. "Shaoli, you're here. Come sit next to Mom." My mother stood up and waved at me. I walked over and sat next to her. I looked at the 2 people sitting across from me. The woman sitting across from my mother looked a few years younger than my mother. Her skin was bright white, her lips were smiling, and her hair was black and curly. She wore a dark green dress decorated with jadeite. She looked very noble. The man sitting next to her was wearing a black suit. His hair was gray and black with silver streaks. He held a cane in both hands and looked at me with a serious expression. I noticed that there was an empty seat across from me. "Shaoli, you've grown so big. I'm Xiao Fengya, Auntie Xiao. I saw you a long time ago. You were still a child." The woman across from me smiled. "Do you remember Auntie? Auntie used to hold you." I searched my memory, but couldn't remember who she was. I shook my head and looked at my mother. How old was she at that time? She just remembered things. My mother took over. That's right. She was too young at that time. But Shaoli is so beautiful. I think will like her. Hubby, right? The woman across from me turned and asked the man next to her. The man didn't answer. He turned and looked at his father. Old Lang will be here soon. Okay. After my father said that, everyone was silent again. The atmosphere returned to the initial awkwardness. My heart was in a mess. Who were these two people? Why did they say they saw me? Why did my father call me here? There was an empty seat across from me. Did someone else come? Was it that Who was he? While I was in a daze, the door opened. A tall, thin man with a cold expression walked in. Sorry, I'm late. Sit down. The man across from me nodded. He walked to the opposite side of me and sat down. Only then did I notice that he had a black feather tattoo behind his right ear. As expected, he was from Kurosawa. After the dishes were served, all the waiters left the room. The atmosphere was as awkward as ever. I fiddled with the food in my bowl. I won't beat around the bush. I'll make it short. The man across from me looked at my father. Old Lang, there are only two of us in a city. I think you know why we're sitting here today. I tugged at my mother's clothes. Mom, who are they? They are your Uncle Duanmu, Auntie Xiao, and their son, Duanmu Quebec. You've seen them once when you were young. So he was the president of Kurosawa, Duanmu Tochio. Little brother, I understand what you're thinking. I have the same idea as you. If this marriage can resolve our past conflicts, then I agree to send Li heir to Duanmu's house. My father replied to Duanmu Tochio. I was stunned. My father wanted me to marry that Duanmu K? Why? Just as I was about to speak, Duanmu K stood up. Why? What right do you have to control my marriage? I saw my father's face become very serious. Shut up. Since when is it your turn to speak? Duanmu Tochio slammed the table and roared. Xiao Fengya tugged at Duanmu K's clothes, hinting for him to sit down. Old Lang has been spoiled since childhood. Don't argue with him. Little brother, I don't need to tell you the meaning of this marriage. You naturally understand. You decide the date. I'll wait for your news. Let's go. My father and mother stood up and walked out the door. I stood up and bowed to Duanmu Tochio and Xiao Fengya, then followed them out of the room. Chapter 2. On the way home, my father didn't say a word. After entering the house, he gestured for me to go to the study to talk. My father stood by the window and pondered for a long time. Li heir, do you want to ask me why I arranged your marriage? No, you must have a reason for doing this. Since I was young, you taught me to obey you absolutely. Then you didn't complain? You didn't think about rebelling against my arrangement? My father turned to look at me. Even if my heart was unwilling, I knew that the sacrifice I made would benefit you, our family, and the Red Ming Hui. In fact, I knew that in front of him, no matter how much I resisted, it would all be futile. He was like a demon in the dark, holding all your weak points. No matter how much you struggled, he wouldn't show any mercy. Perhaps in his eyes, I'm just a handy weapon that he can use to get rid of his dissidents. In the past few years, the conflict between the Red Ming Hui and the Kurosawa has become more and more intense. Their subordinates gathered together to fight, smashing shops, and these are all trivial matters. One of our subordinates borrowed money from them, and they even used him to steal our internal secrets. Fortunately, we discovered it early. You tell me, how could I not be on guard? If that's the case, then just shed all pretense of cordiality. Why do you still want to arrange a marriage? It's not like we're in ancient times, selling children. Their power is still a mystery. The marriage between the two families not only can stabilize the stalemate between the two sides, it can also help me obtain a lot of internal information. This is also one of the main reasons why I want you to marry them. Help me investigate their background. Tell me, besides you, who else would be suitable for this role? My father walked over and patted my shoulder. Okay, I understand. The moment I left the study and closed the door, my heart inexplicably hurt. Perhaps in his eyes, I wasn't his daughter, but a trump card. Returning to the bedroom, I collapsed on the sofa, my thoughts a mess. I was going to marry a strange man and enter a strange family. Behind that family was half of a city's Kurosawa. I was going to face a lot of unpredictable dangers. I was going to fight alone, no longer have a family to back me up, and no capable assistance at my disposal. Dang dang dang. Is Lee there? Mom's coming in. My mother pushed the door open and entered. Looking at me, she sat down beside me. Child, do you hate your father? I shook my head. Mother rubbed my head affectionately. Our Lee has grown up. There are many things that you need to face alone. You have sacrificed yourself. Mother knows that you feel wronged in your heart, but you don't want to say it out loud. But which girl doesn't want to find a man she loves to spend the rest of her life with? Silly child, you don't have to shoulder everything alone. You still have us. Feeling the warmth of his mother's palm, compared to the coldness in his heart, this trace of warmth was enough. Don't worry, I won't let you worry. I know what I should do. Looking at his mother's relieved smile, he suddenly felt that everything was worth it. She talked a lot with her mother about the things that happened in America and her plans for the future. Before she knew it, it was already night time. You have a new message. A message came from my phone. I picked up the phone. After reading it, I sneered. What's wrong? Mother asked. Nothing, I'm going out. Picking up my coat, I walked out of the house. There was a message from an unknown number on my phone. There were only 6 words. Shallow bar, Douanmu, Quebec. I was very surprised by Douanmu K's actions. Based on my understanding of him, he definitely didn't ask me to meet for a simple chat and wine tasting. Then I have to meet him and see what kind of person he is. Shallow Bar is a highly profitable entertainment place under the Kurosawa. On the surface, it doesn't look any different from a normal bar, but it is rumored that a lot of shady deals are done in private. Douanmu K invited me to their place, so they will definitely treat me well. When I reached the bar, I pushed open the door and walked in. A waiter greeted me. Hello, do you have a reservation? I'm looking for Douanmu, Quebec. Miss Lang, please follow me. The waiter led me to a booth in the corner of the bar. There were a total of 5 people sitting in the booth, 3 men and 2 women. The few of them gathered together and chatted while drinking and laughing. Douanmu K was sitting in the middle of the booth. The 2 women sat beside him and nestled in his embrace seductively. The 3 of them were chatting and laughing. Oh, isn't this Miss Lang? You took your time, did you crawl here? Douanmu K saw me and his words were full of sarcasm. What business do you have with me? I ignored his sarcasm and directly asked him why he called me here. I don't have any business with you. Since you don't want to get married, I want to take you out on a date and have some fun with you. Ha ha ha. I really didn't want to see Douanmu K's evil face. Young Master K, is this the fiancée you were talking about? She's too lousy, she's not worthy of you. A woman nestled in his arms glanced at me. That's right, she's not even as good as us. Young Master K, why don't you marry us too? Another woman echoed with a smile. Douanmu K looked at me and sneered. You? Compared to her, you're nothing. How can sluts like you compare to Miss Lang's worth? Right, Lang. Bang. Lee. I walked around the coffee table and grabbed a bottle of wine. I sat in front of Douanmu K and looked into his eyes. The distance between us was only 1 centimeter. I could even feel the frequency of his breathing. I opened the bottle and drank the wine in 1 gulp. I wiped the corner of my mouth, looked into his eyes and asked, Tell me, how do you want to compete? Good, very good. Douanmu K clapped his hands and looked at me. He used his index finger to lift my face. As expected, a righteous face is much better looking. It's a pity that you have such a beautiful face. If you weren't a red Ming Hui, I might not hate you so much. Since you're so tactful, then I won't let you lose too badly. Do you know Killer? I shook off his hand and stood up. Anything is fine. Don't be so sure about winning or losing. Okay, don't say it so early. If you lose, then take a nude selfie and post it online with a caption. I, Cold Glaze, am a slut fed by Douanmu, Quebec. How about that? I could feel Douanmu K's eyes were about to swallow me up. It was very uncomfortable. What if you lose? I asked. Douanmu K stood up. Ridiculous, how can I lose? Okay, if I lose, I'll ask my father to cancel the engagement and sign a contract with your Red Ming Hui. The contract will be as effective as the engagement. How about it? You don't have to marry me to get the result you want. Isn't that the result you want? Chapter 3. I'm sorry, but I don't have any interest in this so-called deal. If you lose, then chop off your hands and feed them to the dogs, I coldly replied. Ha ha ha, alright, then it's decided. Don't go back on your word if you lose. Douanmu K's words were filled with shock. He probably didn't expect me to be such a cold-blooded person. The engagement wasn't important anymore. What was important was that I use the identity of Douanmu K's wife to fight my way into the Kurosawa. I will become the Red Ming Hui's most useful weapon against the Kurosawa. The girl sitting to Douanmu K's left said, Young Master K, isn't this bet a bit too much? What if we lose? With a slap, Douanmu K heavily slapped the woman's face. She fell to the ground. Another woman ran over to help her up and left with her tail between her legs. Douanmu K sat on the sofa and pointed to the person next to him. You, tell her the rules of Killer. Also, go tell the waiter to prepare for a drinking contest. If we're going to play, then let's play big. The so-called Killer is that each person has 18 different cocktails. Within a set amount of time, the first person to drink all 18 cocktails will win. These 18 cocktails are all extremely strong alcohol. From the first drink, Rebirth, to the last drink, Reincarnation, every step forward is a deep tempering of the soul. Rumor has it that the person who first developed Killer was a murderer with more than 20 lives on his back. When he was waiting for death, he created Killer. Every drink symbolizes a stage of self. Killer symbolizes from life to death. In the entire A city, there are very few people who can drink Reincarnation. Douanmu K put out such a strong lineup, he must have made ample preparations. And I'm not good at drinking wine. I just drank a bottle and my head was already starting to feel dizzy. But I can't admit defeat. I have to stake my life on this bet. In the middle of the bar's hall was a stage. A few waiters were busying themselves in an orderly manner. Some of the customers who were drinking in the bar also gathered around the stage. I leaned against a pillar at the side and calmed myself down. You don't have to be so stubborn. What good will it do you to go against him? A voice came from beside me. I turned around and saw a handsome man standing next to me, looking at the stage. He was of average height, dressed simply in a white shirt, and had delicate facial features. If it wasn't for his Adam's apple, anyone would have thought that he was a girl. I turned my head and did not speak. Whatever. It's too late to say anything now. Here's my business card. If you need anything, you can look for me. He handed over a business card. No thanks. I didn't reach out to take it. I put it here. He placed his business card on the coffee table across from me. Please go back and say hello to Uncle Lang for me. I'll visit him when I have time. Turning around, he walked deeper into the bar. Does he know my father? Did my father send him to help me? I picked up the business card on the coffee table. In the middle of the card was written, Han Hao, Black Viper Group's product director. So he's from the Kurosawa. But why is he pretending to be a good person to help me? Is he close to my father? Could it be another trap set by Douanmu K? Everybody, welcome to Shallow Bar. Today, we will be hosting the ultimate showdown of Killer. As everyone knows, Killer is a classic of our bar's drinking competition. Tonight, we are fortunate to be able to see such an exciting showdown. So, Who will we be facing today? First, let us give a round of applause. Let us welcome Black Viper Dwanmu K, Young Master K. The lights gathered in the middle of the stage. The host had already announced that the showdown was about to begin. Young Master K, Young Master K, Young Master K. The audience below the stage loudly called out to Dwanmu Quebec, "It's not too late to give up." Dwanmu K walked past me and gave me a look of disdain. He walked straight to the middle of the stage. The audience below was already boiling with excitement. Dwanmu K stood on the stage and took the microphone from the host. "Thank you everyone for coming to watch this showdown. Although this showdown is my personal grudge, I really don't mind if everyone is here to witness my victory. Young Master K is awesome. Young Master K is the best." Many girls below the stage screamed. The host continued, "Next, let us welcome the challenger, Cold Glaze." I walked on to the stage. The audience below the stage sighed, "Today's showdown, the stakes are extremely high. I don't know how much confidence the challenger has. If Cold Glaze loses, she will take a nude selfie and post it on social media with the caption, 'I, Cold Glaze, am a slut fed by Dwanmu Quebec.' If young Master Dwanmu loses, she will chop off her own hands. My God, isn't the stakes too high? This is too unfair to young Master Dwanmu. We don't want young Master Dwanmu to lose. Hey, the girl on the stage, don't fight with young Master Quebec. Come down and sleep with us for a few days. You want this kind of person? Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble?" A few scumbags below the stage whistled provocatively. At this moment, Dwanmu K walked to the front of the stage and casually took a bottle of wine from the stage and threw it at them. The bottle fell to the ground and the wine spilled all over the floor. Glass shards were scattered everywhere. A few people were so frightened that they sat on the ground. Some people covered their faces and blood could be seen flowing out from between their fingers. Suddenly, the audience below the stage became silent. Dwanmu K grabbed the microphone and squatted on the side of the stage. "In any case, she's going to be my, Dwanmu K's, wife. If you want to sleep with her, it's not your turn. Since you want to be cheap, why don't I sell you guys off to be ducks? Either shut up and watch the show, or leave with your tails between your legs." The scumbags were so scared that they didn't dare to say anything and hid to the side. Dwanmu K turned around and looked at me. Then, he threw the microphone to the host. I wasn't sure if he was trying to help me or himself. The host took the microphone. "The rules of the duel are very simple. The 2 rows of wine that you're looking at right now, in 5 minutes, the winner will be the one who drinks all of them in the shortest time possible. Now, let's invite the 2 of you to stand in your designated positions and prepare for the duel." I stood at one end of the table. Dwanmu K stood across from me and looked at me. "This is the last time. If you want to give up, it's not too late. I can consider letting you go. At least you won't lose so badly." I glanced below the stage. My gaze fell on the man called Han Hao standing in the corner of the bar. I turned around and looked at Dwanmu Quebec. "Let's start." The host stood between us. "Are you ready?" We both nodded. "Okay. Let's count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's start." After the host said, "Start," I picked up the first glass of wine and drank it in one gulp. The wine slid down my throat and I felt like my mouth was going to explode. I leaned against the table and covered my mouth to cough. The host asked me, "Are you okay? Do you want to admit defeat?" I looked at Dwanmu K, who had already started drinking his 3rd glass. The audience below the stage was cheering for him. I shook my head and picked up the 2nd glass and drank it in one gulp. Chapter 4. The 3rd glass, the 4th glass, the 5th glass. I felt like the world was spinning, my stomach was churning, and my throat was spitting fire. Every glass had a different taste, and I didn't have time to savor the taste of the wine. I only knew that the wine was as strong as the summer afternoon sun, and I felt like I was on fire. I held onto the table, wiped my mouth, and picked up the 9th glass. I glanced at Duanmu K, who was opposite me, and he wasn't any better than me. He held onto the table and drank the 8th glass in one gulp, then threw the glass to the side. The stage was littered with our broken glasses, and with the reflection of the lights, the sky darkened. Duanmu K stared at me. How about it? Do you want to continue? Or admit defeat? We're only halfway through. I tilted my head back and swallowed the 9th glass. I threw the glass to the side and forced myself to say, "No, no need." "Hee, all right, I'll accompany you to the end." Duanmu K stared at me and drank the 9th glass. The 10th glass, the 11th glass, the 12th glass. One glass after another, I felt like I couldn't keep my eyes open, and my whole body was weak. I collapsed on the floor, my right hand holding onto the edge of the table, and my left hand reaching for the glass. Then I brought it to my mouth and poured it into my mouth. Every time I swallowed a mouthful, it felt like my whole body was being pricked with needles. My legs gradually went numb, and my whole body became cold. As for the audience who were cheering below the stage, they wouldn't be able to feel this kind of heart-wrenching pain. Even if they were usually afraid of our identities and our methods, from the moment we stood on the stage, we were like actors and they were like audience members. The conflict between Duanmu K and I, in their eyes, was just a part of the stage play. Halfway through the competition, the hand that was holding the wine glass gradually slowed down. I no longer drank the wine in one gulp. Instead, it was like I was drinking medicine. I slowly swallowed mouthful after mouthful. My entire body was leaning against the table to support myself. I forced myself to raise my head. Duanmu K was also leaning against the table. His movements gradually slowed down. Every time he took a sip, his brows would furrow. It seemed that he had reached his limit. The audience was in an uproar, and I could no longer hear what the people below were shouting. The only thing that kept me from falling was that I had to win. Whether or not I could chop off Duanmu K's hand was no longer important. The current me didn't have any strength to resist. Only by winning would I be able to fall and have a moment of rest. At this time, there were only 2 cups of samsara left on the table. One for Duanmu K, and the other for me. Samsara. Is it true that after drinking this cup of wine, I can be reincarnated? In that case, I hope that in the next life, I can be an ordinary person, do what I want to do, and marry the person I like. I forced myself to stand up, and grabbed the cup of wine. Although I felt that I couldn't swallow anything else, but in order to win against him, in order to preserve my dignity, I had to force myself to drink it. I picked up the cup and drank it in one gulp. Then, I slammed the cup to the ground. What happened? 2 people at the same time? No way, how could there be such a coincidence? The audience's voices could be heard from the stage. Could it be that I didn't win, but I was the one who smashed the cup first? Duanmu K won? I looked at Duanmu Quebec. He was also leaning against the table and looking at me. It turned out that when I smashed the wine cup, Duanmu K also drank the last cup of wine and smashed the cup. Both of our cups fell to the ground at the same time. It was impossible to tell who came first. The host acted as if it was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He stood there, not knowing what to do. The audience sighed, but no one dared to stand up to determine who won and who lost. I felt dizzy. I sat on the ground, leaning against the table. My consciousness was getting fainter and fainter. At this time, I felt someone run to my side, and a coat was draped over my shoulders. I forced myself to open my eyes, and saw a delicate face. Han Hao helped me tidy up my dress, and helped me stand up. My legs went soft, and I almost fell again. Han Hao took the opportunity to pull me into his arms. I was paralyzed in his arms. His body exuded a faint fragrance that made me feel very comfortable. I gradually closed my eyes, and wanted to fall asleep just like that. Han Hao, let her go. I heard Duanmu K's ear-piercing voice. I forced myself to open my eyes. He was already in front of me. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into his arms. I lifted my head and saw him glaring at Han Hao. K, I didn't mean anything else. Han Hao tried to help me tidy up the coat that had slipped off. Duanmu-ke raised his hand and flung the coat that was draped over me at Han Hao. Han Hao, don't meddle in other people's business. She asked for it. Duanmu-ke pulled my arm and turned around to walk off the stage. I struggled, but Duanmu-ke's grip was very tight. My entire wrist was red from his grip. I used the last of my strength to push Duanmu-ke away. He lost his balance and took 2 steps back. I turned and grabbed Han Hao's hand. My head went dizzy, and I fell again. Han Hao hugged me, and I held onto Han Hao's arm tightly. I said weakly, "Take me away." Then, I lost consciousness. I didn't know how long I was in a daze, but I gradually opened my eyes. My head hurt so much that it felt like it was going to explode. I looked around. It was a familiar room with familiar decorations. I was already home. Just then, my mother pushed the door open. Seeing that I was about to sit up, she quickly ran over to help me up. She poured me a glass of water and handed it to me. "You're awake. You scared your mother." My mother touched my forehead. "It's okay, Mom. How did I get back?" "When I was waiting for you at home, someone knocked on the door. Auntie Wong told me that you were back, and that there was a boy with you. I ran over and saw that it was Han Hao. I saw that he was holding you. You were unconscious in his arms, and you reeked of alcohol. I quickly asked him to bring you to your room. So it was Han Hao who brought me back. It seemed that he was a reliable person." "Mom, did he leave?" "I don't think so. After he settled you down, he went downstairs to the study to find your father." "Huh? He knows my father?" "His father and your father are good friends, but they rarely interact. His family has always had business dealings with Duanmu-ke's family." As expected, he was Kurosawa. Since his father and my father were good friends, he wouldn't torture me like Duanmu-ke did. I could even trust him. I got off the bed and put on a jacket. When I looked up, I saw that Han Hao had draped the jacket over my shoulders. I picked it up. "Mom, I'm going downstairs to take a look." "Go." I walked to the study. The door was half open. Through the crack, I saw Han Hao sitting across from my father. The two of them were talking and laughing. The atmosphere was harmonious. I knocked on the door. "Dad, it's me." Chapter 5. Come in. I pushed the door open. Han Hao turned around and saw me. He stood up and walked towards me. He touched my forehead with his hand. "How are you? Are you feeling better? Thank goodness you don't have a fever. When I brought you back, your face was very hot. Thank goodness you didn't catch a cold." Han Hao's hand was very warm. I didn't shake off his hand. "Oh, I'm fine. Lier, this is Han Hao. His father is my friend. Although they live in Kurosawa, they can be considered old friends of mine. You don't have to be so hostile. Besides, Hao helped you before." My father sensed my doubts. It turned out that while I was asleep, Han Hao had already told my father everything that had happened at Shallow Bar. "Uncle Lung, you're joking. This is what I should do. It's getting late. I should go back." Han Hao glanced at his watch and turned to look at me. "How about I ask Xiao Li to walk me to the door?" Okay. "When you have time, you must bring your parents over to play." Han Hao smiled and nodded. Then, he pulled me out. The night wind was still a little cold. I couldn't help but pull on my jacket. Han Hao walked silently beside me. I looked at him sideways. I didn't know if it was because of the alcohol or the effect of the moonlight, but I suddenly felt that Han Hao's delicate face was very beautiful. Han Hao suddenly turned his head. When he saw my infatuated expression, I immediately turned my head away. "What are you looking at?" Han Hao asked with a smile. "The moon is really beautiful today." I randomly made up an excuse. "That's true. Yuan. I suddenly stopped and handed his jacket to him. "This is your jacket. Thank you for helping me out. Also, thank you for taking me home." He took the jacket and looked at it. He lowered his head to look at me and said, "Miss Lang, this jacket reeks of your alcohol. Don't you plan to wash it and then return it to me?" My face started to burn when I heard what he said. I reached out to grab my clothes back, but I hadn't expected him to be so strong. The inertia from the rebound made me fall into his arms. In an instant, I felt the air around us freeze. I leaned against Han Hao's chest quietly. I could feel his heartbeat. It was slow but strong. I could smell the faint fragrance of his body. Han Hao didn't push me away. We just stood there, leaning against each other. A gust of wind blew past and I subconsciously leaned into his embrace. Han Hao supported my head with one hand and hugged my waist tightly with the other. He stroked my long hair lovingly. I lifted my head from his embrace and looked into his clear eyes. I saw my own reflection in his eyes. At that moment, I suddenly felt that I might have feelings for him. He held my face in his hands and looked into my eyes. I didn't know what he was thinking. His face slowly moved closer to me. I gradually felt his breath. "He's not going to kiss me, is he?" My heart was in a mess, but I didn't push him away. His face was getting closer and closer. I closed my eyes. Just then, Han Hao suddenly pushed me away and turned to the other side. I opened my eyes and looked at his back. "I'm sorry, Shaoli. I didn't do it on purpose." Han Hao's back was still facing me. He didn't turn around. "It's nothing." I felt strangely disappointed. I didn't even know why I was disappointed. Han Hao suddenly turned around and hugged me tightly. Before I could react, his lips were deeply pressed against mine. The wind blew quietly. I couldn't hear any sound. He stopped and held my face. His eyes were full of love. I felt that he had a lot to say to me. However, he didn't say a word. He turned around and disappeared at the end of the street. Time flies. Ever since that day, I haven't seen Han Hao again. Duanmu's family had set the wedding date for a month later, in late summer and early autumn. The whole family was nervously and orderly preparing for the wedding. I was very calm about this marriage that I didn't have any expectations for. Duanmu K and I's wedding photo shoot went smoothly. Maybe it was because of what happened at the bar. He seemed to be like me. He didn't resist this marriage contract that he couldn't resist. He chose to let nature take its course. Or maybe he was waiting for an opportunity to change everything. Every time I walked past the corner of the stairs, I could see Duanmu K and my wedding photo. That stiff style and that unnatural smile were particularly dazzling. When I was alone at night, I would quietly look at Han Hao's business card. I would recall that night, his kiss, his taste, and his eyes. If there was really love at first sight in this world, then I would definitely admit that the person I liked was him. Sometimes I would think how great it would be if Han Hao and Duanmu K swapped identities. At the very least, I could marry someone I liked, and not someone who shared a bed with a different dream because of any conflict of interest. I put Han Hao's business card at the bottom of my jewelry box. For the sake of Red Minghui, for my father, I decided to bury this feeling deep in my heart. The day of my wedding with Duanmu K had finally arrived. My father and some of the seniors of Red Minghui were receiving guests in the living room. I got up early to freshen up and put on my white wedding dress. My mother carefully tidied my hair. I suddenly felt that she had aged a lot overnight. I looked at myself in the mirror. They say that women are most beautiful on their wedding day. Who wouldn't want to show their most beautiful side to the person they love, and not to their enemies? My mother stroked my hair. Li Er is finally getting married today. Her eyes were filled with tears. "Mom, I will be fine." I held my mother's hand and comforted her. She was probably the person who didn't want me to marry. At this time, Auntie Wong stood at the door and knocked. "Madam, Miss, Duanmu K's family is here to pick you up." My mother looked at me and patted my shoulder. "I will go down and greet them. You can come down when you are ready." She turned and left with Auntie Wong. I was the only one left in the room. I took out Han Hao's business card from the jewelry box and gently stroked his name. I really hoped to see him one more time before I went to Duanmu Kei's house. Even though I had his business card and his contact information, I didn't have the courage to call him. I also didn't know what to say if I called him. Helplessly, I put the business card back. I opened the door and walked out. I chose to endure everything that was about to happen. I walked to the top of the stairs and looked down. The large living room was already filled with people. In the middle of the crowd, I saw Duanmu Quebec. He was holding a bouquet of roses in his hand. He was wearing a pure black suit that highlighted his figure. With his trademark facial features, he smiled and chatted with the people around him. Looking at it this way, Duanmu Kei's sunny side was still very handsome. If he wasn't so bad, he should be someone worth relying on. Chapter 6. The bride is here. I don't know who shouted, but everyone's eyes fell on me. Duanmu Kei looked at me and slowly walked towards me. When he reached me, he knelt down on one knee and handed me a bouquet of flowers. I took the bouquet, and he stood up. He pulled my hand onto his arm and stood beside me. "You're very beautiful today." Duanmu Kei lowered his head and whispered into my ear, "However, Miss Lang, you have to be careful. Don't make a fool of yourself today. It wouldn't be good if someone as beautiful as you embarrass yourself, right?" Duanmu Kei looked at me with an evil smile. "The one who should be careful is you." I glared at him and stepped on his right foot with my left foot. The thin high heels dug into his leather shoes, causing Duanmu Kei's expression to turn hideous from the pain. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He couldn't help but crouch down. I ignored him and walked downstairs. When he saw that I was already walking downstairs, he immediately stood up and ran to my side. He placed my hand on his arm. We greeted our friends and relatives with fake smiles and got into the wedding car. On the way to the wedding venue, Duanmu Kei and I didn't say a word. When I arrived at my destination, there was still some time before the wedding. I walked around the venue aimlessly, dragging my long dress behind me. The entire venue was like a meeting of the underworld. Half of them were people from the Red Tea Society that I was familiar with, and the other half were people from the Black Nightmare Society that I had met for the first time. Glancing around, I inadvertently saw a tall boy standing at the back of the venue. He was pointing at a few people and saying something. His back was very similar to the person who had appeared in my mind before. I walked up to him and tapped his shoulder lightly. The moment he turned his head, my heart skipped a beat. It was still that delicate face, and the same pair of clear eyes. Han Hao turned and saw me. His eyes were filled with surprise at first, but then they became very gentle. I looked into his eyes, and my heart was filled with emotions. "While I was thinking about you, did you also think about me? Congratulations." After a long pause, Han Hao finally opened his mouth to say these 3 words. I instantly woke up from my dream. "Thank you." Longing couldn't be hidden. No matter how deeply you hid it, once it touched the bottom of your heart, there would be all kinds of feelings. After seeing Han Hao, my heart calmed down a lot. He was standing at a place that I wanted to touch but couldn't reach. Han Hao's gaze and smile were like rays of gentle sunlight that warmed my cold heart. Miss Cold Glaze, please come to the greenhouse when you hear the broadcast." The broadcast was calling my name. "It's about to start. Hurry up and get ready." Han Hao looked down at his watch and didn't look at me. "Okay." I turned and walked backstage. The distance between Han Hao and me was getting farther and farther. I stood in the greenhouse, waiting for the countdown to the wedding. The other end of the red carpet was connected to the stage. Duanmu Kei stood at the side of the stage with a serious expression. All the relatives and friends had already taken their seats. Han Hao sat at a table on the Kurosawa side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The wedding officially began. After the host gave a simple opening speech, Duanmu Kei stood in the middle of the stage. The audience applauded. His reputation in the Kurosawa couldn't be underestimated. Although Duanmu Tachio was the boss of the Kurosawa and Duanmu Kei was his son, it was rumored that Duanmu Kei didn't completely rely on his father's influence. Instead, he used his own methods to accumulate popularity in the Kurosawa. A portion of people had already volunteered to follow him. The wedding went according to the prearranged procedure. It went on in an orderly manner until we raised our glasses and drank together. The entire venue boiled over again. After the wedding, it was the signing ceremony for the marriage contract agreement. My father and Duanmu Lixiong signed the agreement that they had previously discussed on the spot. According to the agreement, the Red Tea Society and the Black Nightmare Society would maintain a state of peace from the moment the agreement was signed. If either party broke this state, they would have to give up 30% of their own shares. If either side gave up on the marriage and went through the relevant procedures to dissolve the marriage, the agreement would immediately become null and void. The agreement was like two sets of shackles. It didn't bind our respective forces. Instead, it sacrificed Duanmu Kei and I in exchange for a win-win situation for both forces. Then, a few business agreements were signed. Duanmu Kei's parents and my parents were smiling like flowers. I think this was the situation they wanted the most. After the wedding ceremony, it was time for the wedding banquet. According to the rules, Duanmu Kei and I had to change and go downstage to toast with our friends and family. When I went backstage, I grabbed the clothes rack and didn't know what to change into to toast. At this time, Duanmu Kei walked up to me. He took a pink strapless gown from the rack and handed it to me. I held the gown and looked at him. "You want to wear this?" "Yes." He turned and walked out. "Isn't it too long?" I muttered softly. Duanmu Kei turned and glanced at me. Then, he walked out. I thought for a moment. Forget it. Since he picked it, I'll wear it. After changing, I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked pretty good. I thought Duanmu Kei had good taste. The gown was a little too big, but it didn't affect anything. I just had to be careful. I tidied up the hem of my dress and walked out with a glass of wine. Duanmu Kei was standing at the door. I tapped his arm. He turned and looked at me. He looked me up and down. "Let's go." I followed him and started to toast table after table. Halfway through the toast, Duanmu Kei's face became redder and redder. I didn't know if he was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. When someone toasted him, he drank a glass. After half of the banquet, he drank a lot. I held his arm. No matter how much I hated him, I had to continue acting. At this time, we arrived at a table on the Kurosawa side. The people at the table stood up. Someone next to me tapped my shoulder. Then, I saw that the person standing next to me was Han Hao. I was so focused on supporting Duanmu Kei that I didn't see him. It turned out that we had arrived at his table. Han Hao smiled at me. "Haha, so you guys are sitting here. I was wondering why I didn't see you for so long." Duanmu Kei shook off my arm and put it on the shoulder of the guy next to him. "Duanmu Kei, congratulations. You entered the tomb of marriage earlier than us. Brat, you're good." The guy Duanmu Kei put his arm on laughed. "Don't laugh at me. Come, let me introduce you. This is your future sister-in-law, Cold Glaze." Duanmu Kei's voice suddenly changed. "Let me tell you a secret. She's the future head of the Red Ming Hui. She's not to be trifled with." "You drank too much." Han Hao walked around me to support Duanmu Quebec. I knew he was helping me out. Chapter 7. Let go of me, Han Hao. I'm not drunk. Duanmu Kei flung Han Hao's hand away. Perhaps he had used too much force, but Han Hao lost his balance and took 2 steps back. He stepped on the hem of my dress, and I instinctively dodged. As a result, my dress slipped down. I held the wine glass in one hand, and my other hand quickly covered my chest. Although it didn't fall completely, the top half of my chest was completely exposed. Just as I was about to lose my grip, Han Hao suddenly turned around and hugged me. He used his body to shield me from the awkward situation. The audience gasped. Han Hao quickly took off his jacket and put it on me. He buttoned it up, and I stood there dumbly. Han Hao. Duanmu K pushed Han Hao's shoulder. Han Hao looked at him, but didn't say anything. He turned around and left the venue. Just like last time, he didn't say a word and left quietly. I glared at Duanmu K fiercely and walked backstage. He didn't say a word and followed me into the dressing room backstage. Duanmu K turned around and closed the door. I turned around and looked at him. I reached out and slapped his face. He didn't have time to dodge, and the slap landed heavily on his face. Duanmu K covered his face and looked at me. He seemed to be more sober than before. I walked up to him and grabbed his collar. Duanmu K, don't go overboard. I can tolerate you once or twice, but that doesn't mean I have a good temper. If it wasn't for my father, I would have killed you long ago. I pushed him hard, and he took 2 steps back. He covered his face and laughed. What are you laughing at? You've finally revealed your true nature. Since you're so dissatisfied with me, why don't you just say it? He approached me slowly and I retreated step by step until I reached the wall. He propped his hand against the wall and looked at me. Lang Yu Li, I regret it now. In the past, I tortured you to make you give up on the engagement. Since you are not afraid of death, I will torture you even more. I gave him another slap. He sneered and pressed me against the wall. He began to tear off my dress. His mouth kissed my neck. I struggled with all my might, but he held my hand with one hand and my waist with the other. No matter how strong I was, I couldn't break free from him. He looked at me. We are already married. You are mine. I can do whatever I want. You can't escape. Then his lips covered mine. My eyes widened in shock, and I couldn't move my body. To be honest, I enjoyed Duanmu K's kiss. He pressed me against the wall with one hand and held my waist with the other. His soft lips had a sweet taste. I closed my eyes. Although my heart was against it, my body was honest. Seeing that I gradually let down my guard, his hand that was wrapped around my waist slid to my lower abdomen bit by bit. Then, he slowly moved upwards. Just when he was about to reach my lower abdomen, the room door suddenly opened. Duanmu K quickly jumped to my side. His collar was no longer as flat because of my tugging, and his hair was messy. Especially after the 2 slaps that I rewarded him, the left side of his face was completely red. I wasn't any better. Because of my struggle with him, my dress was messy, my hair was messy, and it was draped over my shoulders. My face was red too. The 2 of us looked like 2 people who had been caught in bed. We didn't know what to do as we stood there and looked at the group of people at the door. The people who opened the door were a few Kurosawa men. When they saw Duanmu K and I, they were stunned for a few seconds. Then, they immediately understood. However, they didn't have any intention of leaving. What do you want? Duanmu K adjusted his collar and broke the awkward situation. It's nothing, young Master Quebec Master just asked us to come and see if you and Miss Lang are here. Now that you're done, can you leave? I didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but I felt that Duanmu K's entire person was uncomfortable when he said that. Yes, young master. We will leave immediately. The men nodded and bowed as they left the room and closed the door, leaving the 2 of us at a loss. I looked in the mirror and adjusted my dress. I was still wearing Han Hao's jacket. Touching his clothes, I could still smell the faint scent of his body. Thinking about how he had helped me out and protected me time and time again, and thinking about his tender eyes, I couldn't help but laugh. Duanmu K looked at my infatuated face and instantly darkened. Cold glaze, take off that jacket. I instantly woke up from my sweet dream. I looked at his tense face. Why? Why? Because you are my wife. You can't wear other people's clothes. Are you going to take it off or not? Duanmu K saw that I didn't move, so he walked over to take off my jacket. I hugged myself tightly and didn't let him take it off. Duanmu K saw that he couldn't take it off, so he tore it like a demon. The tearing sound was like tearing my heart. I couldn't stand it any more and pushed him to the ground. Han Hao's clothes had been ruined beyond recognition. I took it off and looked at Duanmu Quebec. I threw the jacket at his face. Are you satisfied? Duanmu K, if you don't like me, then let's just go our separate ways. We're husband and wife in name only. I'm not so naive as to think that I can grow old with you, so don't be so sure. I turned to leave, but Duanmu K suddenly stood up and hugged me from behind. He threw me heavily onto the sofa, and I grimaced in pain. I struggled to get up, but his whole body was on top of me. I couldn't move. I reached out to hit him, but he held my hands down and stared at me without saying a word. Because I didn't have my jacket, my snow-white skin above my chest was exposed in front of him. He stared at me, and I couldn't break free from his hands. Duanmu K, let go of me. I was a little anxious. He looked into my eyes and slowly lowered his head, inching closer to my chest. Duanmu K, don't touch me. Get lost. I was really anxious. I felt a pain in my chest, and I couldn't help but scream. I felt my whole body go numb. My blood was flowing faster, my heart was beating faster, and my breathing was getting faster. After a while, Duanmu K raised his head and looked at me. He pointed at my left chest and said, I planted a mark here for you. You can't escape. He moved away from me. I lay on the sofa alone, clutching my chest. After a while, I stood up and looked at myself in the mirror. There was a red mark that was slightly smaller than a coin on my left chest. My face instantly turned red. Isn't this the legendary strawberry plant? Chapter 8. I lowered my head and stood in front of the mirror. 10,000 alpacas were galloping in my heart. I couldn't describe this feeling. I wanted to throw a tantrum, but I couldn't. Suddenly, Duanmu K hugged me from behind. I lifted my head and looked at the two of us in the mirror. Duanmu K wasn't short. I had to wear high heels to reach his neck. His eyes weren't as gentle as Han Hao's. There was a trace of arrogance in his eyes. His skin was very good. Perhaps it was because he often took care of his skin, or perhaps he had lived a pampered life. His skin was very delicate, with a high nose and thin lips. Looking at it this way, he was still very good-looking. Duanmu K hugged my waist and looked into my eyes in the mirror. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. He let me go, and I turned to look at him with a puzzled face. He didn't look me in the eye and walked to the door. I thought to myself, what's wrong with him? Why is he hesitating? He took off his jacket and threw it at me. It almost hit my face. Luckily, I reacted quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how hard it would have hit me. Put this on when you go out, he said and left the room. The difference in attitude was too big. I didn't know which one was the real Duanmu Quebec. But after thinking about it, there wasn't much difference. They both liked to use violence. No matter if it was real violence or silent violence, one was torture, and the other was torture to the heart. I simply tidied up my clothes and put on Duanmu K's jacket. I walked out of the room. There were still many friends and relatives who hadn't left yet. They gathered together and talked about everything. Our two families were busy greeting everyone. My father and mother were smiling brightly today. I hadn't seen my father so gentle in a long time. After greeting the last group of guests, Duanmu K and I slumped on the chairs. I was lying on the table. I didn't even have the strength to drink water. He sat across from me and fiddled with his phone. His face was full of impatience. Lier, we should go. I heard my mother's voice, and I lifted my head. My father and mother were ready to go back. I stood up. Mother gently stroked my face. Remember to come back and see us when you go home. Then her eyes reddened again, and tears welled up in them. Let's go. It's not like we'll never see each other again. The father comforted the mother and led her out of the hall. My heart is empty. I will have to rely on myself for the path that I am about to take in the future. At this moment, Duanmu K's parents walked towards us. Xiao Li, pack up. We should go home. Duanmu Kei's mother held my hand and looked at me with a smile. In my opinion, Duanmu Kei's mother, Xiao Fangya, was a very kind and amiable woman. When I found out that I was going to marry Duanmu Kei, I did a detailed investigation on his parents. When she was young, his mother was a famous actress. She was also the daughter of a famous family. Later on, she fell in love with Duanmu Tachio and gave birth to Duanmu Quebec. No wonder Duanmu Kei's appearance was so good. It was because of his good genes. I thought that in the entire Kurosawa, the only person who would not harm me was Xiao Fangya. Xiao Li, what are you thinking about? Xiao Fangya held my hand and asked me worriedly. Ah, Auntie, it's nothing. I'm not thinking about anything. I came back to my senses and saw her worried expression. Instantly, I felt a warm feeling that was not unfamiliar at all. Silly child, you're already married, yet you're still calling me Auntie. You should call me Popo, but Popo seems too distant. If you don't mind, you can call me Mom, okay? Xiao Fangya winked cutely at me. I couldn't control myself and laughed out loud. Mom, sorry, I'm not used to it yet. I awkwardly changed the way I addressed her. Xiao Fangya looked at me awkwardly. Hearing me change the way I addressed her, she was very happy and smiled like a flower. Duanmu Kei couldn't sit still. He stood up with a disgusted expression and pointed at me and said, Mom, are you kidding me? I'm your biological child, okay? Why do I feel like she's your biological child? Kei, don't mess around. Look at Xiao Li, she's such a good child. I liked her from the first time I saw her. Xiao Fangya said and hugged me. Her full breasts pressed down on me and made it hard for me to breathe. I felt that Duanmu Kei's gaze had already killed me 1,000 times. I didn't know how much he cursed me in his heart. I said helplessly, Auntie, I'm a bit uncomfortable, can you let me go first? I felt that Xiao Fangya definitely didn't hear me. I only felt that she was lovingly stroking my hair. Mom, let her go. Duanmu Kei walked around the table and arrived next to me. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into his embrace. My face was filled with black lines. Xiao Fangya covered her mouth and stood on the side laughing. The two of us stood on the side with a head full of question marks. Mom, what are you laughing at? Duanmu Kei stood there awkwardly. I'm not laughing at anything. Aren't you very interested in her? Why are you pretending? I haven't finished speaking, why are you pushing me? Without waiting for Xiao Fangya to finish, Duanmu Kei pushed her out. Mom, are you okay? Go out and wait for us in the car. We'll be there in a bit. Duanmu Kei pushed Xiao Fangya out of the hall. He let out a long breath, turned around, and looked at the stupefied me. The moment he turned his head, I suddenly felt that he wasn't that annoying. Actually, he was just a simple and straightforward big boy. Wasn't that the warm scene just now the life that I had once imagined? But did I really have to compromise like this? No, I couldn't have any feelings for him. No matter how outstanding he was, it would never be possible between him and me. Duanmu Kei walked in front of me. His face was a little red. He didn't look me in the eyes. Don't listen to my mom's nonsense. But to be honest, I did hate that marriage contract. I hated you. That's why I tortured you. I thought about resisting, but I still ended up here. So, let nature take its course. I looked at him quietly. I had guessed these words before. Duanmu Kei was right. Let nature take its course. I only hoped that I could get the information my father wanted from Duanmu Kei's house. As long as I could contribute to Red Ming Hui, it would be enough. It's okay. I didn't want to be tied down by someone I wouldn't give my feelings to. I opened Duanmu Kei's gentleness to me in my mind. Confirm. Delete. Okay, let's go. Mom and Dad are waiting for us. I followed Duanmu Kei's footsteps to the entrance of the hall. I turned around and looked at the red carpet, the beautiful stage, and the neat tables. Everything that happened here was like a dream. Chapter 9. After leaving the venue, I followed Duanmu K into the car. We sped all the way to the Duanmu family's mansion. When we were about to reach the mansion's entrance, we saw a row of people standing there to welcome us from afar. The car stopped at the entrance and I got off. There really were a lot of servants. Xiao Fengya walked over and pulled my hand towards the front door. Master. Madam. Young master. Young madam. The people standing in line to greet us shouted enthusiastically. We walked through the front door and into the living room. Duanmu's home was decorated in a pure Chinese style. As soon as we arrived, Duanmu Tachio led a few people into a room. I guess that was his study. It should also be the place I investigated. Duanmu K walked into the living room in front of me and sat down on the sofa. He picked up a book on the coffee table and started to read, ignoring me. Xiao Fengya, on the other hand, didn't mind showing me around and showing me around. Xiao Li, come. This will be your home from now on. On your left is the kitchen, storage room, bathroom, and the servants' lounge. The room his dad just went into is the study. Although he always works there, K sometimes uses it. If you want to look for information, you can go there. It doesn't seem appropriate for me to go, I said tentatively. She was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said to me, "What's inappropriate? We're family. Come, let's go upstairs." With that, she pulled me upstairs. "Aunt Xiao, you're back." A crisp voice reached my ears. I raised my head and saw a skinny girl standing there looking at me. "Yes, we're back. You came just in time. This is Cold Glaze. You can call her sister-in-law from now on." Xiao Fengya turned to me and smiled. "Xiao Li, this is Yuexin." "Hello." I nodded to her. She didn't say anything and just looked at me with a smile. "Okay, you go do your own thing. I'll show Xiao Li around." Xiao Fengya pulled my hand and walked around her. I intentionally glanced at her from the corner of my eyes. She also turned to look at me with a serious expression. When we reached the second floor, Xiao Fengya pointed to the room facing the stairs and said to me, "Xiao Li, guess whose room this is? If you guess right, you'll get a reward. It can't be my Duanmu K's and my room, right? Xiao Li, you're so smart, come open and see." I opened the door and a beautiful and exquisite room came into view. There were 2 floor-to-ceiling windows in the room. The afternoon sun shone into the room and the whole room was warm. There was a large European-style bed in the middle of the room and all the furniture. I opened the wardrobe and saw women's clothes on the left and men's clothes on the right. I turned to look at Xiao Fengya. "Really, Xiao Li? Are you satisfied? I didn't know what you liked, so I asked your mother for your size. I arranged it according to the style you young people like." "Thank you, Mom." Xiao Fengya's kindness made my heart feel warm. "You rest first. I'll send someone to call you when dinner is ready." Then she closed the door and left. I sat on the chair by the window and stared blankly at the scenery outside. I thought about everything that had happened today. It was just like a movie. I was a little tired, so I leaned on the table and closed my eyes. If you want to sleep, sleep on the bed. You don't want to sleep when there's a bed. I heard the door open and Duanmu K's cold voice followed. I opened my eyes and saw him leaning against the door. I glanced at him and turned away, ignoring him. "I'm speechless," he muttered. Then, there was a series of footsteps. I ignored them. Suddenly, I felt someone hugging my waist. I turned to look at Duanmu K, who was squatting down and trying to hug me. "What are you doing?" I pushed Duanmu K away with all my strength. "I told you to sleep on the bed." He suddenly picked me up. He didn't care how hard I struggled and threw me onto the bed. He turned around and took off my shoes. Then, he grabbed the blanket and stuffed me under it. The bed was soft and definitely had a hypnotic effect. I started to feel sleepy and yawned. When I looked up, I saw Duanmu K had taken off his shirt and his back was facing me. He was about to take off his pants. I immediately covered my eyes. "Duanmu K, what are you doing? Why are you taking off your clothes? I shouted at him. I say, Miss Lung, look at what you've done to me today. Look at my clothes. Duanmu K casually tossed his shirt next to me. Then why don't you go to the toilet and change? I grabbed the shirt and was about to throw it at him. Suddenly, he jumped onto the bed and pressed me under his body. It was the third time today. My face turned red. Duanmu K's body was very good. Maybe it was because he often exercised, but his muscles were very smooth. I didn't know where to look and kept looking around. What are you looking at? Nothing. I don't know what to look at. If you don't know what to look at, then look at me. Duanmu K put his hand on my face and we looked at each other again. We were so close that I could feel his breathing and his heartbeat. I felt my face turn even redder. Why is your face so red? Did you drink? This idiot's question made me want to beat him up again. What did I drink? Without waiting for me to finish my sentence, Duanmu K's lips once again deeply kissed mine. I couldn't resist again. That sweet kiss was like a deadly poison. I couldn't resist. I thought he could hear my heartbeat, so fast that I couldn't control it. There's no smell of alcohol. Looks like you didn't drink too much. He got off my body. I opened my eyes and looked at the ceiling. My mind was in a mess. I turned my head and looked at Duanmu Quebec. He had just taken off his pants, leaving only his underwear. I covered my eyes in shock. Duanmu K, next time you change your clothes, can you tell me? Put on your clothes. Or you can get out. My heartbeat disappeared in an instant. Now I only had the urge to beat him up. I covered my eyes and didn't dare to look at him. I was afraid that I would see something that would hurt my eyes. Just then, I suddenly felt someone get on the bed. He lifted the blanket and lay down. But I still didn't dare to move my hands away. I turned around. Hey. Why are you turning around? I was afraid that you would be scared, so I came to accompany you to sleep. You're just turning your back to me? Go away. I don't need you to accompany me. I moved to the side of the bed and put down my hands that were covering my eyes. Just then, Duanmu K hugged me from behind. But, I need you to accompany me to sleep. Duanmu K leaned toward me and I sank into his arms. I didn't say much. I really needed to rest, but lying in his arms, I didn't feel sleepy at all. Chapter 10. Leaning against Duanmu K's chest, I could feel his strong heartbeat and his soft breathing. I was tired from lying in the same position, so I turned around and saw Duanmu K's handsome face. The way he slept was different from how he usually was. He was very quiet, like a child. I studied his face carefully and was mesmerized. Actually, Duanmu K and Han Hao weren't bad, but they had different personalities. One was quieter, while the other was colder. Just as I was thinking, he suddenly opened his eyes, which made me shiver. Why aren't you sleeping? Duanmu K asked in a low voice. Oh. I couldn't think of a word to answer him. What oh? Go to sleep. Duanmu K said and pulled me into his arms. My face was pressed against his chest, and I could smell Duanmu K's faint body fragrance. My hand was on his chest, and my delicate skin could feel the rise and fall of his breath. I didn't feel uncomfortable in his arms at all. It was as if I was used to it. I leaned against his chest quietly and felt very comfortable. I didn't know why, but I suddenly felt sleepy. I slowly closed my eyes and fell into a deep sleep in Duanmu K's arms. Maybe I was too tired, but I slept too soundly. I didn't know how long I slept. When I woke up, the moon was high in the sky outside the window, and the street lights were on. The room was dark, and Duanmu K wasn't next to me. There was a lamp on the desk in the corner, and Duanmu K was sitting there, fiddling with something. I got up, put on my coat, and walked behind him. I stuck my head out to look at him. You're awake. He didn't turn around. I saw that he was writing something. Duanmu K turned to look at me. He closed the notebook and stuffed it into the drawer. What are you writing? Let me see. I reached out to open the drawer. No. He grabbed my outstretched hand and pulled it back. I lost my balance and he took the opportunity to hug me. I sat on his lap and my hands hooked around his neck. Why are you so proactive this time, throwing yourself into my arms? Speak, what are your intentions? Duanmu K was definitely the kind of person who would pretend to be innocent after taking advantage of her. He was clearly the one who had not taken enough advantage of her, yet he still wanted to complain. You think too much. I let go and tried to get up from his lap. But he held me firmly in his arms and I couldn't resist at all. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Duanmu K stood up and walked over. Brother, it's me, Uxn. Duanmu K opened the door and saw Uxn standing there in a white dress. What is it? Xian. Auntie Xiao asked me to call you down for dinner. When Uxin said this, she glanced into the room and saw me touching up my makeup in front of the dressing table. My expression was very serious. Duanmu K turned to look at me and said to Uxin, Okay, I got it. You can leave first. Duanmu K closed the door and walked behind me. He quietly looked at me, as if he was thinking about something. I looked at his complicated expression and felt that this man had a lot on his mind. Right, I heard Uxin call you brother. Is she your biological sister? I asked Duanmu K as I combed my hair. Uxin? No. She's our family's adopted daughter. Duanmu K came back to his senses and fiddled with my hair. Adopted daughter? Yeah, when she was young, her father gave us a sum of money. In order to pay off the debt, he gave her to my family. When she came to my family, she was very young, about the same age as me. So we played together when we were young and grew up together. She always calls me brother, and I always treat her as a little sister. Oh. I nodded thoughtfully. Oh what? If I don't call you right, then what should you call me in the future? Duanmu K knocked my head with his hand. Call you what? Hubby. I can't say that. I held my head and looked at him. You did it on purpose. I don't care. Think about it yourself. Let's go eat. Duanmu K pulled me out of the room. The two of us walked to the dining room on the first floor. There was a table full of sumptuous dishes. Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fangya were already seated. The two of them were talking and laughing. Sitting next to Xiao Fangya, Uxin sat silently. Duanmu K pulled me to an empty seat. Dad, Mom, we came down. Okay, let's eat. Duanmu Tachio nodded. Xiaoli, you have to eat more. I don't know what you like to eat, so I asked the nanny to prepare more. Come, try this fish. Xiao Fengya casually picked up a piece of fish and put it in my bowl. Mom, don't give her food. She can get it herself. As Duanmu K spoke, he picked up food and put it in my bowl. Not long after, the food in my bowl piled up into a small hill. I vigorously pushed Duanmu K's thigh, telling him to stop. Li Xiong, did you see that? K has grown up. He knows how to take care of his wife. Xiao Fengya smiled at Duanmu Tachio. Yes, K's performance is not bad. Duanmu Tachio also agreed. I stood up, embarrassed. I picked up a prawn and put it in Duanmu Tachio's bowl. Dad, you eat. I also picked up a prawn and put it in Xiao Fengya's bowl. Mom, you eat too. I turned to look at Duanmu K, who had an expectant look on his face. I picked up a prawn and put it in his bowl. Here, yours. No, it's missing something. Duanmu K put the prawn back. Then he said to me, What's missing? Let's do it again. I immediately understood Duanmu K's meaning. I picked up a prawn and put it in my bowl. In a coquettish voice, I said, Hubby, eat prawn. When Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya heard this, they also understood. Everyone laughed. Only Uxian kept a straight face as she ate. I picked up a prawn and put it in her bowl. Xian, eat more. I smiled at her. Thank you. Xian didn't even raise her head as she ate. Xian, Auntie already told you. In the future, you have to call Xiao Li sister-in-law. Look at how good your sister-in-law is. Xiao Fengya stopped smiling. Mom, don't talk about Xin. Hurry up and eat. Duanmu K took over. At this time, Xian raised her head and looked at Duanmu K with a gratified expression. Mom, it's okay. I'm not familiar with Xian right now. It'll be better in the future. I tried to smooth things over. Xian's strange personality immediately attracted my attention. She was definitely hiding something deep inside her heart. Okay. Since Xiaoli said so, then forget it. Let's continue eating. I looked at Xian, who was sitting across from me. She looked at Duanmu K, then looked at me. Then she lowered her head and continued eating. Chapter 11. After eating dinner, Duanmu Tachio went to the study. Xiao Fengya pulled me to the sofa and chatted. Duanmu K sat next to me and carefully read a book. Xian walked from the kitchen to the living room and towards the stairs. Xin, do you want to eat some fruit? I looked at her back and called out. Xian stopped her footsteps and didn't look back at me. No, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to rest first. She directly went upstairs. I leaned on the sofa and looked at her small figure. My curiosity about her was aroused. This child is getting more and more impudent. How can she be so rude? Xiao Fengya muttered in a low voice. Auntie, can you tell me about Xian? I always feel that she's a bit resistant to me. When Xian first came to my family, she wasn't like this. When she was 3 years old, her mother became seriously ill. Her father was a big gambler. He would rather gamble than treat his wife's illness. Later, he gambled more and more, and lost more and more. I heard that he couldn't pay back the money, so he took his wife to the casino and let her sell herself. Then he used the money that his wife earned to gamble again. After a long time, his wife's illness became more and more serious. The casino disliked his wife because she was too sick to receive customers, so they kicked him and his wife out of the casino. Because they didn't have the money to treat her illness, Xian's mother passed away not long after. However, her father didn't want to turn over a new leaf and earn money to support the family. Because of his gambling, the casino no longer allowed him to enter. He ran to a casino under Hei Teng to continue gambling. In the end, when he ran out of money, he wanted to sell his daughter. The manager of the casino felt that this matter was too big, so he reported it to Li Xiong. I still remember clearly, the first time I saw Xian, she was too thin and weak. Her big round eyes looked at us in horror. I heard her story and thought that she was really pitiful, so I bought her and adopted her. I wanted to wait for her to grow up and find a good family for her. It could be considered a good deed. It seems that Xian was also a pitiful child. No wonder she was so lonely and cold. Maybe she was afraid that others would harm her. Mom, why are you telling her these things? How long had it been since then? This will make Xin sad again. Duanmu K put down the book, and looked up at Xiao Fengya and I. His face was full of dissatisfaction. You didn't say anything? Xiao Fengya glared at Duanmu Quebec. Okay, Mom, in a few days Duanmu K and I will be going on our honeymoon. Let's find some time to go shopping. I cleverly changed the subject. Okay. Xiao Fengya started to tell me which brand of clothes were new and which brand of cosmetics was the best. I smiled and agreed. Bang, bang, bang. Someone knocked on the door. The few of us looked at the door. The housekeeper opened the door and a very familiar figure entered. Han Hao. Why are you here? Duanmu K turned his head and asked Han Hao while flipping through his book. Hello, Auntie Xiao. Duanmu K, My dad asked me to bring a document to my uncle. He said it was urgent, so I came. Han Hao smiled at me. His smile was so sweet that I smiled back. Duanmu Ke raised his head and saw us smiling at each other. He closed his book and stood up. My dad is in the study. You can go now. Mom, I'm going upstairs. He walked to my side and lowered his head to whisper into my ear, Wifey, when we're done talking with Mom, you should come up early. Then he looked back at Han Hao, turned around, and walked upstairs. Auntie Xiao, I'm going first. Han Hao gestured to us and walked into the study. Looking at Han Hao's back, I had an indescribable feeling in my heart. Xiao Fengya pulled me to the sofa and told me some embarrassing stories about Duanmu Ke when he was young. I listened to them happily. It turned out that Duanmu Ke wasn't as cold as he seemed. Everything was just an act. He was actually a very sunny boy. His style of doing things was completely different from Duanmu Tachio's. In Xiao Fengya's words, although he inherited their genes, his personality was completely nurtured. He was resolute and would do whatever he wanted to do. After a while, I heard the study door open. Han Hao walked out of the study, looking exhausted. Are you not feeling well? Why do you look so pale? Xiao Fengya turned and looked at Han Hao with concern. Auntie Xiao, I'm fine. It's getting late. I should go. I'll come see you again next time. Han Hao waved his hand and walked out of the door. Mom, I'll see him out. Xiao Fengya nodded, and I followed him out. The development of the plot was always surprisingly similar. The last time I saw him off was after he helped me get home. This time, I saw him off after I got married. The two of us slowly walked on the road to the door. We didn't say a word, but I could feel that his heart wasn't calm. Thank you for helping me out today, I said softly. It's nothing. Anyone would have done the same at that time. Are you sure? I stopped in my tracks. Han Hao also stopped after taking 2 steps. Here, I might not be able to protect you all the time. Han Hao turned to look at me. After the incident at the wedding, Duanmu Ke talked to me. He doesn't want me to get too close to you. Why? My heart trembled. So Duanmu Ke had talked to him before. You know, Duanmu Ke is a very strange person. He might not reach out to kill you, but he can force you into a dead end and make you have no choice but to die. You know, the feeling he gives me right now is that you are his prey. He doesn't lack women by his side, but none of them can stay by his side for long. Han Hao grabbed my shoulder as if he wanted to crush me. Are you worried about me? I looked into Han Hao's gentle eyes. Xiao Li, Han Hao didn't say what he wanted to say. I know that I didn't decide on this marriage. Since it's a fact, I can only face it. I can't resist it. After all, it's related to the interests of both our families. I knew that Han Hao would never say the words I was hoping for. Maybe he was just worried about me. Be good. Han Hao suddenly hugged me. At that moment, tears streamed down my face as I leaned into Han Hao's embrace. It was the same familiar heartbeat, the same familiar scent, and the same familiar person. But now, he was leaving me. Looking at Han Hao's receding figure, my heart gradually calmed down. He was right. I had to be good, and I had to protect myself. If Duanmu Ke was really a monster, my future days wouldn't be easy. I laughed coldly. How laughable. I had naively thought that I would fall in love with Duanmu Quebec. I shook my head helplessly. The moment I turned around, I inadvertently saw the expressionless Duanmu Ke standing by the window on the 2nd floor. Chapter 12. Seeing Duanmu Ke, I was shocked. But then I saw his cold eyes and thought about what Han Hao had said to me. Duanmu Ke probably thought there was something going on between Han Hao and me. I walked back into the house. Xiao Fengya wasn't in the living room anymore. I walked up the stairs to the door. My hand stopped as I was about to open the door. If Duanmu Ke asked, how should I answer? Forget it. I didn't want to think about it. I opened the door and saw Duanmu K standing in front of the window with his back to the door. I walked in and closed the door behind me. I didn't plan to talk to him. I opened the wardrobe and took out my pajamas. I was about to go to the bathroom to change. What did you do just now? Duanmu K asked, looking out the window. I stood by the bed with the pajamas in my arms. Han Hao finished his business and sent him off. Duanmu K turned to look at me. Since when was it your turn to send him off? He helped me out today. I wanted to thank him. I felt that Duanmu K's eyes weren't normal. Do you need a hug to thank him? He walked towards me and stood in front of me. Subconsciously, I took a step back. As a result, I lost my balance and sat on the bed. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him quietly. It seemed that he was angry. Huh? Do I need a hug to apologize? Why did he hug you? Duanmu K supported himself with one hand on the edge of the bed, pressing me under his body. I used my hand to push against his chest so that I wouldn't fall down. A hug didn't do anything. It was just a friendly hug. Don't you think you're meddling too much? I pushed Duanmu K's chest with all my strength. But his cold eyes made my hair stand on end. Does it mean that if something worse happens, it won't be meddling too much if I talk about it? Duanmu K pushed me with all his strength. I lay flat on the bed. He pressed his whole body on top of me and looked at me. I felt very insecure. I hugged the pajamas and looked at him. Get off. I'm going to change and rest. I found an excuse to get him off me. Duanmu K grabbed my pajamas and snatched it over. He stood in front of me, glaring at me fiercely as he tore my pajamas in front of me. What are you doing? I sat up. Duanmu K threw the torn pajamas on the floor and pushed me down again. I couldn't move as he was on top of me. He continued to stare at me, one hand by my ear while the other hand started to unbutton his shirt. His snow-white skin, firm muscles, and smooth lines slowly appeared in my line of sight. I turned my head away from him and tried to push him away with both hands. Duanmu K, what are you doing? Let me go. Duanmu K held my face with his hand. I realized that his upper body was completely naked in front of me. His eyes weren't as cold as before. There was even a hint of gentleness. He looked at me quietly. His face came closer and his lips were deeply imprinted on mine. Duanmu K's kiss must be magical. I didn't resist. I quietly felt his warm kiss. The longer the kiss, the more I couldn't resist. Instead, I enjoyed it. After a while, Duanmu K raised his head and looked at me. You are mine. I fell into his kiss again. It was my first time. I looked at the handsome man in front of me. I couldn't remember all the bad things he had done to me in the past. It was as if I had lost my memory. I could only remember his passion and tenderness towards me in one day. Finally, on this night, I gave my body to this man. After a round of passion, I lay in Duanmu K's arms and fell into a light sleep. As I recalled the wonderful things that had just happened, I blushed shyly. Duanmu K didn't fall asleep. He played with my hair. I didn't know what he was thinking. Shaoli, do you think I am a good man? Duanmu K asked. I don't know. Then you are so relieved to give your precious first time to me? After listening to Duanmu K's words, I didn't answer. Indeed, why did I have sex with him? If I had resisted, Duanmu K probably wouldn't have forced himself on me. But we really had sex. Was it because it was part of the marriage agreement, or was it because I had fallen in love with him? Shaoli, you should have heard what Han Hao said. Actually, I've slept with many women in the past. These women, other than throwing themselves at me, only had relations with me because of my family background. They simply thought that as long as they satisfied my sexual desires, they would have the right to have me, Duanmu K, pamper them. But they were wrong. What I wanted was a treasure, not a tile. These women were not obtained through hard work. Even if they were in my bed, they could not be called my women. Duanmu K cupped my face. At first, I thought you were like those women. You approached me with a purpose. When I found out that this marriage was established for the benefit of both families, I sympathized with you and hated you at the same time. So, I thought of ways to torture you. But your cold personality surprised me. When I saw how Han Hao helped you again and again, I suddenly became curious about you. So, I am also your prey, right? I looked at Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu K thought for a moment. Yes. I smiled. Haha. Then, do you think you have successfully hunted me? No, I can't see your heart. Duanmu K cupped my face and kissed my forehead. He pointed at my chest with his finger. I pushed him away and turned my back to him. I fell into deep thought. Han Hao was right. Duanmu K saw me as his prey. If he got me, I might become worthless. Suddenly, Duanmu K hugged me from behind. He buried his head in my long hair. I didn't say anything. He hugged me tightly as if he wanted to melt me into his embrace. Don't leave me. Chapter 13. Duanmu K was a man that I couldn't understand. When he was angry, he was like a wild beast. When he was quiet, he was like a child. When he was cold, you would want to kill him. But when I saw his gentle side, my heart couldn't help but soften. Duanmu K hugged me tightly. He rubbed his face against my hair. I didn't resist. What was done couldn't be undone. I had already married him, and what had happened had happened. I leaned into his embrace, my hands resting on Duanmu K's hands. He grabbed my hands and hugged me even tighter. Duanmu K, what kind of person are you? I asked softly. You will understand me completely one day. Duanmu K turned me over and laid on top of me. He buried his head in my neck. I hooked my arms around his neck and kissed him on the side of his face. He suddenly lifted his head and looked at me with a puzzled expression. I smiled and looked at him. Isn't acting supposed to be a trap? Actually, I'm just like other women. I'm not as noble as you think. Duanmu K touched my face. You acted well. However, your eyes betrayed you. They were too sincere. His kiss touched my heart again. I hugged his neck tightly and felt his warmth. At least for this night, please allow me to indulge myself and fall into Duanmu K's arms. The morning sun was exceptionally warm. It shone through the glass window and warmed the bed. The sun was so bright that I couldn't open my eyes. I turned over and moved. I felt a hand gently stroking my hair. I opened my eyes and saw Duanmu K's gentle eyes. You're awake. I moved closer to Duanmu K's chest and closed my eyes again. Duanmu K smiled and held me in his arms. He gently kissed my head. Bang, bang, bang. There was a knock on the door. Young master, young madam, madam wants you to come downstairs for breakfast. It's time to get up. Mom's calling us for breakfast. Duanmu K sat up and patted me. I rubbed my eyes and sat up. Duanmu K got off the bed and stood naked in front of me. The image that burned my eyes instantly woke me up. Duanmu K, put your clothes on. I turned my head away from the sight of such an unpleasantness. It's not like I haven't seen it before. Duanmu K muttered. He moved his face closer and looked at me with a perverted smile. Do you want to take a shower together? My face darkened. I grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face. Get lost. Duanmu K leaned to the side and didn't hit me. I couldn't take it anymore and threw the pillow at him a few more times. He easily dodged it. He looked at me with an evil smile and ran around the room naked. I was speechless. I lay on the bed and sighed. He wasn't as bad as I thought. After a long time, we went downstairs to the dining room. Duanmu Tachio wasn't at the table. Xiao Fengya and Yu Xian were sitting there waiting for us. Mom, you must have been anxious waiting. You woke up late. Duanmu K sat down and said to Xiao Fengya, It's okay. How did you sleep last night? Xiao Fengya asked me with a smile. I slept well. My face flushed a deep red. Haha, it's good that you slept well. Xiao Fangya seemed to understand something and laughed. Yu Xian sat across from me and ate quietly. She didn't raise her head to look at us. Just like yesterday, her expression was serious. But to be honest, Yu Xian was very beautiful. Although she was small, her body was curvy and she had a baby face. Although she was serious, she was very cute. If Yu Xian could smile, she would be a very beautiful woman. After breakfast, Duanmu Tachio called and asked Duanmu K to go to the company. Xiao Fangya had an appointment with the other madams to attend a tea party, so she also went out. Only Yu Xian and I were left in the house. I was bored, so I wandered around the room. When I reached a corner of the garden, I saw Yu Xian holding a pair of scissors and trimming the flowers. I thought this was the best time to get closer to Yu Xian, so I walked over. Xian, so you are here. Are you trimming the flowers? I smiled and waved my hand. Yu Xian raised her head and looked at me. She didn't answer and continued trimming the flowers. I didn't think she was such a cold person. I walked to her side and quietly stood next to her. I was thinking about how to get out of this awkward situation. Do you love him? Yu Xian lowered her head and asked. What? I looked at her. Do you love Duanmu K? This question really stumped me. I did marry Duanmu K because of the engagement, but thinking about last night's tenderness, I didn't know how to answer this question. Why do you ask? If you don't love him, then I hope you can stay away from him. Yu Xian raised her head and looked at me. She stopped what she was doing. Yu Xian's eyes were very firm. This made another thought emerge in my heart. Could it be that she likes Duanmu K? I heard the real reason why you two got married. Although it's for each other's benefit, you don't like him. You shouldn't have feelings for him, and you shouldn't give your body to him. Yesterday, I heard your conversation outside the door. So what if he's hunting? Do you know how many women are willing to be his prey? I was shocked. This woman stood in front of our door for the whole night? What was her purpose? So what if you are the eldest daughter of the Lang family? You will never understand how good Duanmu Gij is. You know, I saw you by his side. You look like you're together, but you're apart. I felt very disgusted. So, I advise you, if you really don't love him, then you should let him go. I smiled and looked at Yu Xian. What if I say no? Yu Xian raised the pruning scissors and pointed the tip of the scissors at my throat. She looked at me with cold eyes and said, If this scissors is inserted into your throat, then you will use your life to answer the question you just asked. I didn't dodge. I stood in front of Yu Xian and looked at her. I didn't expect her weak appearance to hide such a cruel heart. However, it also confirmed my guess. She really did like Duanmu Quebec, Xin. What are you doing? I suddenly heard a shout. I turned my head and saw Xiao Fangya standing next to the flower pond with her bag. Yu Xian put down the scissors. Mom, you're back. I walked around Yu Xian and greeted her. Xiaoli, are you okay? Why is she pointing the scissors at you? Xiao Fengya worriedly touched my neck. Mom, I'm fine. I saw that Xin knows how to prune, so I wanted her to teach me. You saw her hand the tools to me. I held Xiao Fengya's arm and said with a smile, Mom, why did you come back so quickly? It's good that you're fine. My good friends suddenly stood me up. Chapter 14. Mom, how about we go shopping? I asked with a smile. Okay, let's go. I turned my head and said, Xin, do you want to come with us? Yu Xian held the scissors and shook her head as she walked towards the warehouse. This child's temper is getting weirder and weirder. Xiao Fengya muttered. I changed into a simple set of light clothes and went out with Xiao Fengya to go shopping. On the way, Xiao Fengya introduced me to a lot of Kurosawa companies. Among them, the biggest shopping mall in a city was owned by the Kurosawa. Duanmu Tochio gave it to Duanmu K to manage. When we arrived at the shopping mall, Xiao Fengya smiled and said to me, "Who knows, we might even meet Mom, let's go shopping first." Although I didn't say it, in my heart, I still wanted to see Douanmu, Quebec. They say that men at work are the most attractive. If I could see Douanmu, I would be very happy. I accompanied Xiao Fengya to 3 floors and bought a lot of things. In front of us was a Gucci store. I suddenly had an idea. I wanted to buy a small gift for Douanmu, Quebec. I pulled Xiao Fengya's clothes and said, "Mom, let's go shopping in that store. I heard that recently a new belt was released. I think it's very suitable. I want to show it to Douanmu, Quebec." Okay, let's go. The 2 of us walked into the Gucci store. The salesperson warmly welcomed us and introduced us to each product in detail. I casually picked 2 bags and happened to see Gucci's new men's belt in the most conspicuous position of the display case. I motioned to the salesperson to show me the leather. "Miss, you have a good eye. This is our store's new product. It just came out. It's a limited edition. There are only a few in the world. Our store only has this one." I took the belt and looked it up and down. "Okay, I'll take this. Please help me wrap it up. I need to give it to someone." I handed my bank card to her. Just as she was about to take the bank card, a huge figure suddenly appeared in front of me and bounced me away. I took a few steps back and Xiao Fengya immediately supported me. "This belt, I want it." A fat woman with heavy makeup glared at me and grabbed my belt. She threw my bank card on the floor and threw her wallet on the counter. "I'm sorry, madam. This young lady saw it first." The salesperson picked up the bank card for me and then supported me. "Are you blind? Can't you see it's in my hands? Hurry up and give me the bill." The woman put her hands on her hips and gestured at the salesperson. "Madam, how about this? I'll order another one for you. It'll arrive soon," the salesperson explained patiently. "Why should I order another one, and why shouldn't they order another one? Hurry up and give me the bill." The woman sat on the chair and looked at us with disdain. "Madam, we ordered this first. Can you please have some manners?" Xiao Fengya was a bit anxious. "Manners? Can't you see it's in anyone's hands?" The woman suddenly stood up and walked towards Xiao Fengya. I stepped in front of Xiao Fengya and blocked her. This woman didn't give up, and more onlookers gathered around. Xiao Fengya wanted me to stop pestering her, but I had my own principles. I was the one who ordered it first. Why should I let a passerby steal my things? The salesperson suppressed her emotions and tried to appease her. "Everyone, make way, make way." A few people came in from outside the crowd. The last one to come in was none other than Douanmu, Quebec. When he saw me and Xiao Fengya, he was stunned. He called the salesperson who handled the order over and asked about the details. He whispered a few words in the salesperson's ear, and the salesperson left. He walked to our side and said to Xiao Fengya, "Ma, you must have been frightened. It's nothing, you should go home." Then he arranged for his subordinates to send Xiao Fengya away. I was about to follow, but Douanmu pulled my hand and signaled me to stay. I nodded and stood to the side. He turned and walked to the fat woman. "Madam, how do you want to solve this matter?" "Who are you?" The fat woman looked up and down at Douanmu and rolled her eyes. "I'm the person in charge here. Tell me, how do you want to solve this?" "I want this belt. I don't need you to give me a discount. I don't lack that money. But you have to make that salesperson and that woman apologize to me." The fat woman pointed at me. "Sure, I can sell it to you. Of course, we will also comply with your request and not give you a discount. I don't think an apology has reached that level. Can you give me some face and not haggle over this matter?" Douanmu very patiently explained to her. "Ridiculous. Who do you think you are that I should give you face?" The woman sneered. I clenched my fists, and Douanmu pulled my hand. "Well, Douanmu face, may not be worth that much in front of you. However, I have already arranged for the salesperson to call the police. Your current behavior constitutes a disturbance of public order. Duan Mu Ke looked at his watch. I think the police will be here soon. You're threatening me? You think I'm afraid of the police? The woman's voice trembled. You're not afraid of the police, but you're afraid of me, Duan Mu Quebec. If I'm polite, I'll hand you over to the police. If I'm not polite, I'll hand you over to the Kurosawa. I'm afraid you won't be that lucky. Duan Mu Ke's words scared the woman into silence. While she was in a daze, I walked in front of her and snatched the belt from her hand. I handed it to the cashier and successfully paid the bill. The fat woman saw that the situation wasn't good, so she left with her tail between her legs. The onlookers gradually dispersed. After I finished paying the bill, I turned around and saw Duan Mu Ke sitting on the sofa looking at me. I walked over. He stood up and patted my head. How long have you been shopping? You must be hungry. I'll take you to eat something good. He pulled me out. I heard the salesperson behind us say, Is she young Master K's wife? She's so beautiful. Yes, yes. She's a good match for young Master Quebec. My face immediately turned red. Duan Mu Ke looked at my bashful expression and couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, look at how angry you are. It's been half a day and your face is still red. I looked at him with disdain. Who said I was angry? It's all because I heard you, the salesperson, talk nonsense. I feel embarrassed. Ha 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 ha, I know. It felt like Duan Mu Ke was going to collapse from laughter. I glared at him fiercely, stepped on his foot, and turned around to leave. Ouch. Hey. Wait for me. I held the gift in my hand and suddenly felt very happy. Chapter 15. Duan Mu Ke took me to a high-class Western restaurant. After ordering a few dishes, he sat there and stared at me. What are you looking at? I glanced at Duan Mu Quebec. Nothing. I'm just curious. How did you get into an argument with that woman? Duan Mu Ke supported his chin and stared at me. He looked like a child waiting to hear a story. His face was full of curiosity. I told him the whole story. He nodded and looked pensive. I fiddled with the tablecloth. Why didn't you ask me? Why did you only ask me now? I didn't need to ask you. I asked the salesperson. It was obvious that the woman was being unreasonable. But there's one thing I don't understand. What is it? Why did you fight with her over a man's belt? I asked the salesperson. She said it wasn't Mom who picked it, but you. That's why I don't understand. I blushed and didn't look at him. Duan Mu Ke thought for a while and seemed to understand something. I know. I turned and looked at him. You gave it to my dad. Only Duan Mu Ke with his IQ could answer such an idiotic question. I threw the bag at him. Take it. You're welcome. I lowered my head and fiddled with the dishes on my plate. Duan Mu Ke received the bag. He opened it and burst out laughing. The people eating around us all looked at us. Lower your voice. So many people are watching. Even if you don't feel embarrassed, I do. I whispered to him. Ha ha ha, I know. Just say that you gave it to me, so that I don't have to waste my time guessing. Duan Mu Ke was fiddling with the packaging, his face full of joy. Don't think too much. I just randomly saw it and bought it for you. Okay. Didn't you just randomly buy it? It's the only one in the whole mall. Yeah, so random. Duan Mu Ke really made it sound so good even when he exposed lies. I rolled my eyes at him and didn't bother with him. Just like that, we finished our lunch noisily. Originally, I wanted to walk around for a while before going home, but Duan Mu Ke insisted on accompanying me. I couldn't persuade him otherwise, so I agreed to go shopping with him. After walking around for 10 minutes, I started to regret it. No matter where I went, I would bump into people who knew him. Most of them were women. Moreover, the women had the same reaction when they saw us. First, they would see Duan Mu Ke's face filled with admiration. Then, they would look at me in disdain when Duanmu K pulled me along. Duanmu K would wave at everyone with a smile. When he met someone he was close to, he would even introduce me to them. I felt my neck turn red as I stood next to him. It wasn't easy to find an opportunity. I pulled Duanmu K aside. "I'm done. I want to go back." "So fast? You didn't buy anything?" I thought to myself. With your popularity and charm, everyone knows you. How could I have the nerve to buy anything? No. I'm a little tired. I want to go back. I smiled at Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu K looked at his watch. Then he moved his smirking face closer to mine. "Okay, I can let you go, but I want a kiss." Black lines appeared on my face as I looked at the shameless fool in front of me. I suddenly felt an itch in my hand. I really wanted to beat him up. "Hurry up, I want a kiss." A shameless man was trying to act cute in front of you. I almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Helpless, in order to get away quickly, I gave him a perfunctory kiss on the cheek. Duanmu K used his finger to point at his own mouth. "It says it also wants a kiss." I was speechless. I had cursed him several times in my head. The people walking past us turned to look at us. "Hurry up. There will be more people soon." In the end, I compromised. I raised my head and gently kissed Duanmu K's lips. He pulled me into his embrace and kissed me passionately. More and more people came to watch us. Some people even clapped and cheered. I awkwardly pushed Duanmu K away. He looked at my blushing face and smiled happily. He looked at his watch. "I'll get off work soon. I have a meeting to attend. Do you want to wait for me in my office? When I'm done, we can leave together." I thought for a moment. Since I didn't have anything to do, I might be able to steal some useful information. I nodded. He pulled my hand and walked out of the crowd. He didn't forget to wave at me as if he was a superstar. Duanmu K took me to his office and asked his secretary to pour me a glass of water. Then, he took a pile of documents to the meeting room. I was bored, so I flipped through the magazines on the coffee table. Actually, I wanted to open Duanmu K's computer to read. However, I remembered that I had just arrived at Duanmu K's house, and they wouldn't trust me completely. They might even be secretly watching me. I didn't want to reveal my purpose now. So, I just sat there and flipped through the magazines and checked my phone. At this moment, the office door opened. I looked up and the person who came in was none other than Yu Xin. Yu Xin looked at me with a puzzled face. I also looked at her with a puzzled face. "Why are you here?" Yu Xin placed a pile of documents on Duanmu K's desk. "I was shopping and happened to see Duanmu Quebec. He brought me here." "Why are you here?" I asked. "Oh, Uncle asked me to give Duanmu Gij some documents." Yu Xin sat across from me. "You really don't listen to me." I immediately understood what Yu Xin meant. What's there to listen to? I'm already married to Duanmu Quebec. I'm his legal wife. It's normal for me to be with him. But you don't love him. Yu Xin stood up and walked to Duanmu K's computer. She raised her head and looked at me. "You don't even know what he needs. What qualifications do you have to stand by his side? Whether I love him or not, I don't feel the need to answer you. You also don't have the right to interfere in our lives." Yu Xin wasn't a simple woman. "Haha, is that so?" Yu Xin sneered. She lowered her head and fiddled with the computer. I stood up and walked to Yu Xin. I shouted at her, "What are you doing?" She ignored me and casually tapped a few keys on the computer. The computer unlocked the password. I was surprised. How did she know the password to Duanmu K's computer? She smiled at me and walked past me to sit on the sofa. Just as I was about to open my mouth and question her, the office door was pushed open. Duanmu K had just finished his meeting and walked in. He first saw Yu Xin and smiled at her. Then, he turned around and saw me standing at his desk. His expression instantly became serious. Chapter 16. Dwanmu K walked in front of me and glanced at the computer screen. He glanced at Uxin, and finally at me. Then, he turned off the computer and said, "I'm done. Let's go." He pulled me towards the door. As we walked past Uxin, Dwanmu K glanced at Uxin. "You go back first. We have something to do." Then, he pulled me out of the office. I glanced at Uxin. Her eyes were as cold as ever. Dwanmu K and I didn't speak on the way back. He didn't let go of my hand. The awkwardness of the silence made me very nervous. Would he think that I was the one who touched his computer? Would he think that I had stolen the files on his computer? If that was the case, I wouldn't have the chance to do it again in the future. When we got in the car, my heart was still in a mess. Dwanmu K sat next to me. I could feel that his mood was very complicated. "Shaoli, you weren't the one who touched my computer, were you?" Dwanmu K looked at me. I turned to look at him and shook my head hard. If I had really done it, I would definitely admit it. If I hadn't done it, I definitely wouldn't admit it. I guessed it. It was Uxin. He turned his head, and his expression was very serious. She wasn't like this in the past. I knew that she was pitiful, so I loved her very much. Since we were young, I always treated her like my little sister. She was also very dependent on me. If I wanted to do something behind her back, I could always feel the loneliness in her eyes. So, I never kept any secrets from her. But as we grew up, she changed from relying on me to monitoring me. This kind of feeling sometimes makes me very afraid. But when I think of her eyes, my heart softens again. Dwanmu K used his hand to cover his eyes and leaned his head back against the seat. Looking at Dwanmu K's disappointed expression, I understood that Uxin had been pestering Dwanmu Quebec. Although I could guess that Uxin had a crush on the Dwanmu K with a woman's intuition, from Dwanmu K's expression, his feelings for Uxin were definitely a kind of familial love. I thought that Uxin didn't know what the Dwanmu K really thought of her. If she had known, she wouldn't have sent the driver to mess with me. However, looking at Dwanmu K's tired face, I didn't know why, but my heart felt very uncomfortable. I reached out and gently stroked his face. He held my hand and closed his eyes as he leaned against my hand. "Shaoli, you give me a very special feeling. I feel very comfortable when I'm by your side." He looked at me. "Last night, I really wanted to have sex with you." Hearing Dwanmu K act like a hooligan in all seriousness, my face darkened again. He was always like this. Just as I was about to pull my hand away from his face, he grabbed it and pulled me into his embrace. This feeling of being real is really good. He buried his head in my neck and hugged me tighter. I really cherish the identity I have now. I always have a feeling that you don't belong to me. Even though I'm hugging you like this, your heart has never belonged to me. I said. Dwanmu K's words touched my heart deeply. I lifted my head and looked at him. "Do you say that to all the women around you?" Dwanmu K looked serious. "I've only said that to you. I've never said that to any of them." "Then, what have you said to them?" I looked at Dwanmu K in disdain. "It's not like that, Shaoli." He held my shoulder and said seriously, "I did have sex with a few women in the past. However, it was when I was dating them. Of course, there were some women that I didn't touch at all. They were all rumors. Later on, the rumors became more and more ridiculous. In the end, they even said that I was a promiscuous person." I looked at his serious face and burst out laughing. He looked at me and laughed even harder. "I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying to you." I laughed even harder. Okay. I believe you. Let's go. Let's go home." Dwanmu K cupped my face and kissed me gently. It was lucky that he didn't suspect me. Thinking about what Uxin had done to me, I sank into deep thought. I decided to be careful of this woman. Her love for Dwanmu K could lead her to frame me. If my plan was disrupted because of her, my father would be very disappointed in me. Duanmu Kei drove me home. When we entered the house, Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya were chatting in the living room. Uxin was sitting next to them, reading a book. Duanmu Kei greeted Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya. Then, he went upstairs to change his clothes. I sat next to Xiao Fengya and told her about some interesting things we had encountered while shopping for clothes. Duanmu Tachio told me about some things that we would be going back to my house the day after tomorrow. Then, he asked me to bring some documents to my father. I agreed. During the whole process, Uxin sat on the side and didn't raise her head to look at us. I glanced at her from the corner of my eyes. Her facial expression wasn't very good. After dinner, Duanmu Kei and Duanmu Tachio went to the study to discuss some matters. Uxin said that she had something to do and hadn't returned yet. Xiao Fengya met a few friends to play cards in the lounge. I wandered around the garden alone. Unknowingly, I walked to the place where I met Uxin in the morning. Thinking about how she first put the scissors in front of my neck and then opened Duanmu Kei's computer to let Duanmu Kei think that I intentionally stole his documents, I felt a bit angry. No matter how pitiful her life was, she couldn't do whatever she wanted just because everyone sympathized with her. I gently touched the flowers in the flower bed. They were blooming beautifully. Shaoli, is that you? I heard someone call my name. I raised my head and saw Han Hao. It's me. Why are you here? I walked over to him. Thinking about what Duanmu Kei had said to me yesterday, I deliberately kept a certain distance from him. Han Hao was stunned for a moment, then said to me, I came to give some information to Uncle. Also, I wanted to talk to Duanmu Kei about the banquet next month. How was it? Did you rest well yesterday? He was still as gentle as ever. Pretty good. Dad and Duanmu Kei are discussing something in the study. If you're not in a hurry, you can wait in the living room. I pointed in the direction of the sofa in the room. It's fine. I'm not in a hurry. I'll stay with you for a while. He smiled and said to me. I nodded. Okay. Today, I heard people talking about what happened at the shopping center. Are you okay? It seems the news spread really fast. It had already spread to Kurosawa. Just as I was about to open my mouth to reply, I heard a voice from the door. She's fine. We turned around and saw Duanmu Kei standing at the door, looking at us. Chapter 17. Duanmu, Han Hao greeted Duanmu Kei with a smile. Duanmu Kei walked toward us. He glanced at me, then at Han Hao. Wife, you go in first. I have something to say to Han Hao. I glanced at Han Hao, then at Duanmu Quebec. I walked into the room, but I was curious as to what Duanmu Kei would say to Han Hao. I turned around and walked through the side door to the back of the flower bed. I found a place close to the two of them and hid there. The two of them looked at each other for a while. If one didn't know that both of them were straight, it would be easy to mistake them for flirting with each other. Of course, it was Han Hao who spoke first. Since you've come out, I'll have to trouble you to give this document to your uncle. I won't go in. Han Hao handed the document to Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu Kei didn't take the document from Han Hao. He kept staring at him. Han Hao, do you like cold glaze? Duanmu Kei straightforwardly asked this question. I secretly scolded him for being an idiot in my heart, but I was also curious as to how Han Hao would answer him. Han Hao furrowed his brows and looked at Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu Kei, you think too much. Don't worry about whether I think too much or not. There's no one else here. Tell me the truth. Duanmu Kei forced Han Hao into a dead end. Okay, I'll admit it. I have a good impression of her. I like her free and easy personality, and I like her when she's quiet. When Han Hao said those words, my heart trembled. I hadn't expected him to really like me. But she's my woman. Duanmu Kei looked at him and said decisively. I know, but feelings aren't something I can control. Although I like her, I've never told her. Han Hao, I see you as my brotder. My father and I know about the relationship between your family and the Leng family. Even so, we've been at ease handing over some of our business to your family. I don't want our relationship to break because of Xiao Li. Duanmu Ke was right. The two of them could be considered the best of friends. The fact that he could freely enter and leave Duanmu's home showed how much trust the Duanmu family had in Han Hao. I understand all of that, so I've always kept it hidden in my heart. Han Hao put his hand on Duanmu Ke's shoulder. Ke, Xiao Li isn't like the other women around you. If you have a good impression of her, then don't hurt her. Duanmu Ke shook off his hand. Han Hao, you're meddling too much. She's already my woman. No matter what happens to her, you shouldn't interfere. It has nothing to do with you. As I said, don't let her affect our relationship. You don't understand how to love someone. Han Hao shook his head in disappointment. Duanmu Ke looked up at the window in our bedroom. At least for now, I still want her to stay by my side. Duanmu Ke's words surprised me. Could it be that he had feelings for me? He turned to look at Han Hao. You know, on the day of the wedding, I purposely picked a dress that was too big for her to wear. Then, during the toast, I set her up, wanting to embarrass her. But when I saw you helping her out, I felt very uncomfortable. When I returned to the dressing room and saw her angry face, I suddenly had a desire to possess her. When I got close to her, I noticed the special look in her eyes. It made my desire for her reignite. When I heard Duanmu Ke's words, I covered my mouth in shock. I was afraid I'd scream. At that time, he had put in so much effort to torment me. Duanmu Ke continued, Han Hao, in fact, I've long since discovered your feelings for her. If it were any other woman, I would definitely give her to you. But if it's Xiao Li, I'm sorry, I can't give her to you. Why? Han Hao didn't understand. Duanmu Ke looked at him and said, in public, our marriage has already become a fact. The marriage contract agreement has already taken effect. If we say that because of your interference, our marriage will be destroyed, and the agreement will become null and void, can you compensate for these losses with your life alone? Even if I don't pursue the matter, do you think my father and the Red Minghui won't cause trouble for you? And you want to take Xiao Li along with you? In private, she and I are already married. They say you shouldn't covet your friend's wife. If you steal my woman, what kind of explanation will you give me? Besides, if we really fall out, is it you who's a bigger threat to me? Or is it me who's a bigger threat to you? Han Hao didn't speak. He thought about it carefully. Duanmu Ke's words made sense. He had thought things through very thoroughly. Han Hao lowered his head. Believe me, I won't let her down. Duanmu Ke patted Han Hao's shoulder. Han Hao handed the document to Duanmu Ke and left. Looking at Han Hao's back, I felt very uncomfortable. He met the wrong person at the wrong time. If Han Hao hadn't met me, he wouldn't be so distressed. After Han Hao left, Duanmu Ke also returned to the house. He probably went to deliver the document to Duanmu Tochio. I got up and patted the dirt off my body. Just as I was about to leave, I raised my head and saw Uxin hiding under a tree across the flower bed. She must have heard the conversation between Han Hao and Duanmu Quebec. I stood there without moving. Uxin crossed her arms and walked towards me. She stopped in front of me and looked at me with her cold face. What's the matter? I asked. She didn't speak. She reached out and held my chin. She looked at me and said, "What's so good about you?" Duanmu, Gij cares so much about you. Even Han Hao, Gij likes you. I shook off her hand and looked at her angrily. You don't need to be nervous. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't be so stupid as to harm you here. Today, I was too impatient. I forgot that this was the first time you entered Duanmu, Gij's office, so I exposed myself. When Uxian said these words, her expression was very calm. Uxian, I don't want to steal anything from you, nor do I want to harm you or your family. I also don't expect you to treat me well. I just want you to control your emotions. If you do something excessive to me again, don't blame me for being impolite. I warned you, Xian. Unexpectedly, after hearing these words, Xian laughed out loud and said, So what? Miss Lung, this isn't your Lang family. For this family, you are an outsider. Do you really think that Auntie Xiao and Uncle Duanmu are really good to you? There's no need to even mention Duanmu, Gidge. He doesn't like you at all. He's just putting on a show with you. A few simple sweet words and honeyed words were enough to make you fall in love with him. Just how narcissistic are you? Xian, I've already said what I wanted to say to you. You can think whatever you want. No matter what, I am Duanmu K's real wife, and the woman sleeping next to him. I am also the young madam of the Duanmu family. As for you, for this family, you are just an adopted daughter. Chapter 18. Xian looked at me with a very serious expression. Lang Yu Li, don't be happy too early. Sooner or later, you will pay the price for what you said today. She turned and left after saying that. I looked at Xian's back and felt uncomfortable. Fortunately, I now knew what she was really thinking. I just needed to be careful in the future. But then again, when I thought about what Duanmu K had said to Han Hao, my heart was moved. I didn't know why, but I felt that he wasn't as annoying as before. Whenever I thought of him, I would think of his gentle eyes. Could it be that I had a good impression of him? After walking around the flower bed for a while, I went upstairs. When I returned to my room, I saw Duanmu K sitting by the window, looking out. He didn't say anything when he saw me come in. How much do you like to stare blankly out the window? I leaned against the door and looked at him. Looking at him like this, Duanmu K's quiet appearance was quite pleasing to the eye. To be honest, I liked this side of him. He looked at me, then looked out the window again. Of course, only when there's something nice to look at. I walked to the window and looked around. I didn't see anything special. I leaned against the window. This is nothing. Hey, look over there. He raised his hand and pointed at a place. I followed his finger and saw that he was pointing at the place where I had been eavesdropping on them and talking to Xian. I was stunned. He laughed. He stood up and walked behind me to hug me. Did you hear what I said to Han Hao? I thought for a while, then nodded. If he knew that place, he must have guessed that I was hiding there and eavesdropping. He lowered his head and pressed his face against mine. Everything I said is true. He kissed my cheek. Actually, it's not that you can't hear it. It's just that I'm a bit embarrassed. I smiled. Young Master Duanmu has moments when he's embarrassed. I felt his heartbeat and my heart felt at ease. But I can't say these words in front of you. Actually, this is the real you, right? The you I saw before was all an act. No, I became like this because of you. I turned to face him and looked into his eyes. At least, it was a gaze that only I could see. I opened my arms and threw myself into his arms. Duanmu K took the opportunity to hug me. I hugged him tightly and kissed his lips deeply. He touched my face and looked at me, very gently. I leaned against his chest and listened to his heartbeat quietly. I stroked his chest. I have a favor to ask of you. What is it? He hugged me tightly. I may have to ask you to take care of me for the rest of my life. Duanmu K hugged me. I hooked my arms around his neck. He looked at me with a happy face. I do. Duanmu K carried me onto the bed. I was willing to spend the night with him. I was willing to give my heart to him. I didn't know what would happen in the future, but at least for now, I was willing to be with him. Now that I thought about it, my meeting with Duanmu K was fate's arrangement. Since I couldn't go against fate's arrangement, and Duanmu K seemed to treat me well, why should I deliberately keep a certain distance? That night, Duanmu K and I slept soundly in each other's arms. It was already morning, but neither of us was willing to get up. The nanny knocked on the door twice to ask us to go downstairs for breakfast, but Duanmu K found an excuse to evade her. The two of us lay face to face on the bed. Our eyes met. He hugged me and told me some of the interesting things that had happened to him since he was young. He also told me some of Han Hao's embarrassing stories. From time to time, he would even make a prank. Looking at his funny face, I laughed so hard that my stomach hurt. He saw that I was laughing very happily, so he laughed too. Then, he pulled me into his arms and gently stroked my hair. Let's get up. We are going back to your house today. If Duanmu K hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. Today was indeed the day we were going back to my house. Yeah, I would have forgotten if you hadn't mentioned it. Let's get up and get ready. I have a request. Duanmu K rolled over and laid on top of me. Promise me first. I looked at his shameless face and guessed that it wasn't anything good. Tell me first. Then, I will consider whether to promise you or not. No, promise me first. If you don't promise me, I won't get up. He began to act shamelessly again, rubbing his whole body against mine. I had no choice but to compromise. Okay. I promise you. I pushed him hard. Really? That's great. Duanmu K's eyes began to sparkle. Let's take a bath together. He looked at me with anticipation. As expected, it wasn't anything good. I pushed him hard. I don't want to. I refuse. He suddenly stood up and stood naked in front of me. I quickly covered my eyes. Why does this guy like to run around naked? He carried me in his arms. I didn't have time to cover myself, so I was naked in front of him. I quickly covered my private parts with my hands. Duanmu K looked at my panicked face and laughed. I don't care. You have to keep your word. Let's go and take a bath. Duanmu K was afraid that I would run away, so he took big strides to the bathroom. He put me away from the showerhead and turned on the water valve. Because he had just turned on the valve, the water wasn't hot yet. He stood under the water in front of me, afraid that the cold water would hit me. After a while, the water gradually heated up. He pulled me under the water and gently rubbed my back. I touched his back with my hand. It was very cold from the cold water. I caught some hot water with my hand and gently patted his back. I'm not cold. He smiled at me. I suddenly had an idea. I knocked on his head. Why do you have so many ideas this morning? He blinked at me with a bashful and perverted expression. He came over and hugged me. Brain woman, I have a reaction again. Why don't we do it here? My face darkened, and I pinched his waist hard. He grimaced in pain. I'm going to tell my father Lang that you bullied his handsome and cute son-in-law. I looked at him with a cold face and shot him a glance. I wasn't sure if I had really used too much strength, but he crouched under the showerhead, holding his waist and letting the water hit him. I noticed that something was wrong. I quickly crouched down and touched his head. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? Are you okay? Let me see. Duanmu K didn't raise his head. He didn't answer me either. I was a little anxious, so I pulled him up with some effort. He kept his head down, and water dripped from his wet hair. I pressed my hand on his hand that was covering his waist. Let me see. It's my fault. I didn't think I'd hurt you. Chapter 19. Duanmu K didn't answer. He was still holding his waist. I quickly turned off the faucet and grabbed a towel to wipe the water off his head and body. When I was almost dry, I said to him, All right, it's about time. Go out and put on some clothes. I'll apply some medicine for you later. Just as I was about to hang the towel on the drying rack, he suddenly hugged me and pressed me against the wall. What are you doing? You scared me. I patted my chest and said. Duanmu K lifted his head and looked at me with an innocent and wronged expression. It hurts. His voice trilled. It was obvious that he was acting cute. I looked at his expression and shook my head helplessly. There was nothing I could do. It was my own fault. I ruffled his hair. All right. I was wrong. Tell me, how do you want me to make it up to you? Countless requests Dwanmu might make flashed through my mind. I want a kiss. They say that women are cute when they act cute. A 1.8-meter man acting cute in front of you, you really can't stand it. But there was nothing I could do. I promised him that I would make it up to him. I couldn't go back on my word. I cupped his face and kissed his lips. Then, I looked into his eyes. Is this enough? Dwanmu smacked his lips and rolled his eyes. Then, he looked at me and shook his head vigorously. It was obvious that he wasn't satisfied. I was hopeless and resigned myself to my fate. He looked at me and burst out laughing. Then, he pulled me into his arms. I don't care. You owe me a compensation. I'll remember that. I can't do anything to you. Do whatever you want. I fell into his arms. He stroked my hair. I told you not to be angry. At first, I wanted you to make it up to me by taking a bath together. But I was afraid that you would hit me even harder. So, I changed it. Ha ha ha. Look at how smart I am. He looked at me with a smug expression. I am completely speechless. What else can this guy think of other than having sex in his head? Forget it, forget it. I'd better not beat him up. If I were to beat him up, I'd have to coax him. Dwanmu threw a tantrum in the bathroom for a long time before he finally finished showering. When he came out, he threw a tantrum like a child and insisted that I help him put on his clothes. If I didn't help him put on his clothes, he wouldn't go out. I couldn't understand why a person with such a high status, good looks, good figure, and high IQ like him would have a hobby of running around naked. I really didn't want to see him run around the room naked, so I couldn't help but help him get dressed. After the two of us cleaned up, we went downstairs. When we walked out of the room, we could clearly feel that Dwanmu was different from before. He had regained his usual arrogant and cold expression. I knew that it was because of his personality, but those who didn't know would think that he had schizophrenia. The two of us greeted Dwanmu and Xiao Fengya. Dwanmu gave me the documents I wanted to give to my father and told me to bring them to him. The two of us ate a simple meal and then headed back to my house. Originally, Xiao Fengya wanted to arrange for a driver to take us back, but Dwanmu refused. He said that he might have to stay at my house for a few days. It would be inconvenient if his phone crashed. It would be easier if he drove himself. Thus, the two of us drove back to my house. When we arrived at the entrance, the whole family was waiting for us. After getting off the car, I directly threw myself into my mother's arms. My father nodded to me and pulled Dwanmu hand into the house. After entering the living room, I remembered what Dwanmu had told me. I took out the documents and handed them to my father. After he opened them, he called Dwanmu to the study. I held my mother's arm and told her what had happened in the past few days. I told her that Dwanmu and Xiao Fengya had treated me well. Of course, I also told her about my wedding night with the Dwanmu Quebec. When my mother heard that the Dwanmu had treated me well, she was relieved. As a mother, she always worried about her child, especially when I wasn't by her side. I didn't tell her about Han Hao. After all, I had sealed him in the bottom of my heart. Afterward, I told my mother about UXIN in detail. After listening to my story, my mother had the same opinion as me. She wasn't a simple woman. She might become the enemy I would have to face in that house. After talking with my mother for a while, I glanced at my watch. It was almost time for dinner. I pulled my mother's hand and said, "Mom, I want to cook a meal today. Can I? I want to cook your and Dad's favorite dish, pine nut fish." "Okay, Mom will help you." My mother smiled and said to me. Fortunately, the nanny usually bought enough food, so the house had all the necessary ingredients. I arranged the ingredients that I could use and began to prepare. My mother helped me while we talked and laughed in the kitchen. After a while, we finally made a table full of dishes. They all looked very good. I was very satisfied with my cooking skills. Since I was a child, I liked to make delicious food. After a long time, it had become my specialty. After tidying up, I went to the study and knocked on the door. Then, I pushed the door open and walked in. My father and Duanmu K were still sitting there, talking and laughing. When Duanmu K saw me come in, he stood up and ran to me, hugging me. I pushed him, wanting him to let go. "What are you doing? Be careful. My father is here." He didn't seem to want to let go. "Lier, don't be like this. He's like this because he likes you." I looked at my father and then looked at Duanmu Quebec. I thought to myself, what did he do? How did he get along with his father-in-law so quickly? "Dad, it's time to eat." I struggled to get away from Duanmu K's big hand. "Okay, let's go." We went to the dining table. Seeing the table full of dishes, Duanmu K couldn't help but cheer. "Mom, you're too kind. You made a table full of dishes." Mother smiled at Duanmu K and said, "It's okay, it's okay. It's rare for you to come back. Eat more. Try it. Here, especially this pine nut fish. Try it." Mother placed the pine nut fish in front of Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu K used his chopsticks to pick up a piece of fish and put it in his mouth. He tasted it carefully. "Mom, it's delicious. It's really delicious." My mother and I looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Seeing the two of us laugh, my father also laughed. Only Duanmu K still had his head lowered as he ate. Even though his mouth was stuffed with food, he didn't forget to say, "Ma, this is too delicious. Every dish is delicious. It's as delicious as the food that my family's chef made. No, it's better than the food that my chef made. If it's delicious, eat more. As long as you like it, it's fine." My mother smiled. "Mom, did you make it? It's too delicious." Duanmu K raised his head and looked at my mother. Chapter 20. Mother waved her hand at Duanmu Quebec. "Of course, I didn't make it. Lier made it." "Huh?" Duanmu K looked at me in surprise. "Wow, so she can cook." "I didn't know." Father smiled. "Lier lives abroad. Whenever she comes back, she always asks to cook for us. You're lucky. Her cooking skills are really good." I nodded at him to show that I agreed with my father. Duanmu K looked at me with admiration. It was obvious that he was a foodie. We chatted while eating. When we were almost done, Duanmu K put down his chopsticks. "Dad, Mom, Xiaoli and I want to stay at home for 2 more days. Is that okay?" His mother nodded. "Yes, but have you told your parents?" "Yeah, I did. We're going to go on our honeymoon when we get home. So, we want to stay for a few more days." "Okay, I'll ask my auntie to clean up the guest room for you. Lier's room is a little small." Mother called the housekeeper over. "Mom, it's okay. I'll sleep with Xiaoli." He put his hand on my shoulder and smirked. "Who wants to sleep with you? You sleep in the guest room, and I'll sleep in my room." I rolled my eyes at him. Unexpectedly, he turned to look at my mother with an innocent face. Then, he looked at my father. His eyes were full of pity, and I felt like he was going to cry. "Lier, don't be stubborn. I'll ask the auntie to clean up." Mother asked the housekeeper to go upstairs to clean up the room. Duanmu K looked at me with a triumphant expression. I had to get used to his childish personality. After dinner, our family sat together and chatted for a while. Then, a phone call came. Father took Mother out, saying that they had an urgent meeting. Duanmu K and I were left at home. I saw that the weather outside was pretty good, so I pulled Duanmu K to the garden outside for a stroll. Her mother loved roses the most. Her father had specially built a very large flower pond in the open space outside the villa. It was filled with roses, and there were gardeners taking care of it every day. After a long time, the sea of flowers at home spread among the upper class of a city. Some people came to visit because of its reputation. As long as they really came to appreciate the flowers, Mother would warmly welcome them. I pulled Duanmu K to the edge of the flower pond. "Isn't this flower pond beautiful?" "Yes, She's very beautiful. I've heard of her before. Didn't the daughter of the chairman of a media company come here to take a photo and become famous? Yes, this is it. This is a gift from my father to my mother. He loved my mother very much. I bent down and stroked a flower. Oh. You're trying to tell me something, aren't you? Bad girl. Duanmu-ke ruffled my hair. No, I believe that you will be good to me because you promise me. If you go back on your word, I have corresponding measures. I turned and gave him an evil smile. He touched his face with both hands. Oh my God! You're not going to murder your husband, are you? Father Lang, come and save your poor and lovely son-in-law. Your daughter wants to kill me. Help. I was speechless as I watched Duanmu-ke put on a show next to me. He expressed all kinds of emotions incisively and vividly. I had to say that it would be a loss for the entertainment industry if he didn't enter the entertainment industry. I didn't say anything. I stood next to him and watched him play a few roles. One moment he acted as my father, the next moment he acted as me, and then he acted as himself. The gist of the story was that he had asked my father for help, saying that I wanted to kill him. My father had protected him and then taught me a lesson. Seeing him act so exaggeratedly, I couldn't help but laugh. All right. I didn't say that I was going to do anything to you. Why are you so agitated? I patted his shoulder. Duanmu-ke reached out and hugged me. I can't play with you. You have a special charm that deeply attracts me. Although it might feel fake if I say that I love you now, I have you in my heart, in the deepest part of my heart. If sweet talk was a necessary skill for a man to flirt with a girl, then I was willing to indulge in Duanmu-ke's sweet talk. He was really good to me. We decided to do all the things that couples should do when they were dating. A few days before the vacation, we watched a few movies. We watched all the movies that were on the schedule. Originally, he wanted to book the whole theater, but I refused. After all, the atmosphere in the theater was better when there were more people. Like other couples, we tasted all kinds of delicacies at the roadside food stalls. Once, we went to a very popular restaurant. I pretended to buy something, leaving him alone in his seat. Then, I hid in a corner and watched him from afar. Many beautiful women went to talk to him, but he found an excuse to drive them away. I pretended to finish shopping and return to my seat. Then, I looked at his idle expression and couldn't help but laugh. When I saw his disdainful expression, I laughed even more happily. After that, the two of us did a lot of things. Every day, we would return home exhausted. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the day we would fly to America for our honeymoon. That night, the two of us lay down early and prepared to sleep. Duanmu-ke hugged me in his arms and gently patted my back. Xiaoli, I've been very happy these 2 days, he said softly. I opened my eyes and looked at him. Why do you say that? I didn't feel like this before. He stroked my hair. Then what was it like before? In the past, the women around me were either timid. They were afraid of doing something wrong and making me unhappy, so they did whatever I said. Or, when we went out, they would drag me to go shopping or attend all kinds of parties. They used me as a sign. There was no one like you who had the same personality as me, and who could play with me. He cupped my face. So, after I got you, I treasured you very much. I was afraid that you would run away. I smiled and said, where can I run to? If I run, the marriage contract will automatically be terminated. At that time, our two families will become enemies. Hey, can we not talk about that deal? It's ruining the atmosphere. Anyway, you're enough. This time, we're going to America. I also want to see the environment you used to live in. That way, I can get to know you better. After all, I don't know anything except that you like me. He kissed my forehead. I knocked his forehead. Narcissistic again. Who said I like you? I didn't say that. He looked at me innocently. You are irresponsible. That day, you slept with me. You said that you would be responsible for me. Now, you don't keep your word. I don't care. I will blame you. That you're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.